Chapter 1078. Due to various reasons, not everyone in the mansion dined together at night. Thus, Ji Feng could not recognize everyone in the mansion. Ji Feng had already planned to integrate into the mansion, and he would get to know all the people living in the mansion sooner or later. Just as the meal was about to start, Duan He returned to the mansion from the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce. As soon as he entered, he smelled the aroma of delicious food. During his time in the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce, Duan He thought about Lu Jie's food every day. Usually Listen Zhou Luo or Lu Jie and Hu Quan would bring food for Duan He when they went to the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce. But every time, Duan He felt that he couldn't eat to his heart's content without eating with the others in the manor. Unknowingly, Duan He began to develop a sense of dependence on the return from faraway mansion. In fact, Duan He's main purpose of returning this time was to bid farewell to Lin Yuan and prepare to take Sky City's white-clothed followers to train by using the active period of the dimensional rift. At the same time, he could also improve his combat skills with Purple Demon. Duan He came to Lin Yuan's side and said, "Young master, I'm ready. Young master, I'm ready on my side. Tomorrow morning, I plan to take Lu Jie's new white-clothed followers to the extreme north for 3 months of hard training. Do your best to raise the strength of those white-clothed followers." While speaking, Duan He thought of the bronze/epic phase that Lin Yuan had created for those white-clothed followers according to the willpower rune. These bronze/epic phase created according to the willpower rune allowed the king-class experts, who had no talent but only resources, to undergo a transformation. During the 3 months in the extreme north, Duan He was prepared to be strict. He would use the test of life and death to let these king-class experts grow quickly. Otherwise, Duan He felt that these white-clothed followers were really unworthy of Lin Yuan's high-end resources. Upon hearing Duan He's words, Lin Yuan smiled and nodded. "Senior Duan He, thank you for your hard work. I'll have to trouble you with those white-clothed followers." After saying that, Lin Yuan took out a brocade pouch. The brocade pouch contained 13 heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls that had just been produced by the elemental shellfish in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. These were the resources that Lin Yuan intended to leave for Duan He for 3 months for him to use freely. In fact, Lin Yuan had originally planned to let Duan He bring Gray along and help it find different auras to absorb during the training. However, after hearing what Endless Summer had said to him, he had given up on this plan. If a spirit of heavenly protector or an emperor-level powerhouse discovered Gray Ash, not only would Duan He not be able to protect Gray Ash, but Gray Ash would also die. Instead, he would be in danger because of Gray. Duan He took the brocade pouch and looked at the 100 heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls in it in a daze. "Senior Duan He, I should be able to harvest a huge batch of high-grade fey flesh that can help Senior Purple Demon increase his strength in a few days. I'll get Ostrich Logistics to send those high-grade phase flesh over." When Lin Yuan had told Zheng Kaiyuan to visit the Return from Faraway Mansion in a few days at the Spirit Food Pavilion, there had been a deeper meaning. When Zheng Kaiyuan came to the Return from Faraway Manor, the Zheng family had already gone through the Blood Oath Extreme battle and should no longer exist. At that time, Zheng Kaiyuan could only live under the roof of the Miao family like a stray dog. Zheng Kaiyuan, who had lost the backing of the old Zheng family, was like a rootless duckweed. No matter where he went, he would not have the confidence he had before. The more arrogant Zheng Kaiyuan had been in the Miao family, the more people he had offended, the more people would hate him and find trouble behind his back. Therefore, what Zheng Kaiyuan could do was firmly hold on to this line with Lin Yuan and help him get better resources from the Zheng family in order to please him. This was what Lin Yuan wanted. Lin Yuan planned to trade a large number of myth breed phase for Duan He in addition to the law origin crystals so that the purple demon's strength could rapidly increase. Anyway, with a large number of law origin crystals, Lin Yuan would only have more and more law crystals that contained pure power of law. He could also afford to feed these myth 3 phase in the Return from Faraway Manor. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Duan He was overjoyed. The purple demon's strength could finally increase. Moreover, the suzerain/myth breed phase that Lin Yuan had given him could not possibly all be dark type, right? When the other heads of the purple demon became the main personality, Duan He felt that he could be liberated. At the same time, it would be like changing a wife. Thinking of the sickly personality in the purple demon's dark type head, Duan He lived in fear every day. Perhaps one night the person next to him would grab his neck and ask, "You're clearly with me. Why did you sneak into the spirit food pavilion with others to eat the saliva snake when you're clearly with me? As the young family head of the sea and sky lineage, Ji Feng's social skills were naturally maxed out. Soon Ji Feng became familiar with the people he saw in the manor. After eating, when you took Ji Feng to clean up a guest room and transformed it into the room that Ji Feng usually lived in. Since Hu Quan had been in seclusion recently, when you found 3 Class 3 spirit craftsmen in the manor to modify the room according to Ji Feng's requirements. Ji Feng, who had his own room, could be considered to be officially living in the manor. Then when you also considerately connected the 2 guest rooms next to Ji Feng's room from the inside. The 2 rooms were separated from each other, but they were both connected to Ji Feng's room. These 2 rooms were prepared by Wen Yu for the Karma Gladiolus and the Water Lily. The Karma Gladiolus and the Water Lily had reached Myth 3. After familiarizing themselves with their strength in Ji Feng's spiritual spatial zone, they would have to live outside. Wen Yu naturally did not know how the 3 of them lived. However, this obviously gave Ji Feng enough privacy and space. As for how to build those 2 rooms, when you let the 3 Class 3 spirit craftsmen stand by first. After the Karma Gladiolus and the Water Lily came out, they would use their ideas to modify the room. After dealing with these matters, Lin Yuan looked at the increasing number of people in the manor. A faint smile appeared on Wen Yu's face. After dinner, Lin Yuan felt that he could not open his eyes. His upper and lower eyelids seemed to be sticky and wanted to grow together. He had sat in the snow for a day last night and had been busy for another day today. He was still fighting with the strange plant life form in his body under the triple pain of his mind, body and soul. Could be said that Lin Yuan was really exhausted. Tomorrow morning he still had to go to the Radiant Moon Palace to meet his master, the Moon Empress, and then have a meal with Zhongzhe, Gulang, Long Tao and the others. Therefore, even though it was just past 8 o'clock in the evening and there were still many things to do, Lin Yuan still planned to go to sleep. Lin Yuan, whose eyelids were fighting, did not even have the energy to check how many spirit chi crystals there were in the spirit lock spatial zone. Just as he was about to fall asleep, his cell phone suddenly rang. Chapter 1079. This time Lin Yuan's cell phone did not ring. It was a group video message. He picked up his cell phone in a daze and accepted the group video message. He saw that Zhongzhe, Gulang, Gao Feng, Long Tao, Sun Ningxiang, and Li Xian were all in high spirits. Lu Jie had missed the group video call last time because he had been using the Insect Queen to control the insect carcinoma Fei. However, he was in the mansion this time. He had put on the Spirit Guard's standard mask before the group video call. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan perked up and sat cross-legged on the bed. Lin Yuan, who was sitting cross-legged on the bed, shook his head in a daze and forced himself to wake up. Upon seeing Lin Yuan's appearance in the video, Zhongzhe, Gulang, Long Tao, Li Xian and the others were shocked. Even Lu Jie was very surprised. After living with Lin Yuan for so long, it was his first time seeing him in such a daze and a little lazy. Lin Yuan now looked like a sunshine boy who was a little sleepy, which made people feel close to him at first glance. In the past, Lin Yuan's appearance in front of everyone was too perfect. After seeing him like this, everyone felt that their relationship with him had invisibly become much closer. Lu Jie had seen that Lin Yuan was listless at the dining table. In Lu Jie's memory, Lin Yuan rarely appeared to be so exhausted. Lu Jie immediately thought that something was wrong with Lin Yuan's body. Just as Lu Jie was about to ask about Lin Yuan's condition, he heard a voice at the same time as him. Lu Jie and Zhongzhe asked the same question in unison. Lin Yuan, are you feeling unwell? Lu Jie and Zhongzhe looked at each other for a moment before looking away. Lin Yuan had already suppressed his sleepiness and used his hand to rub his eyes. I'm fine. I just didn't sleep last night and feel a little sleepy after eating. Gulang had been looking at Zhongzhe with a probing gaze since Zhongzhe had asked about Lin Yuan's condition. During the group video chat, Gulang had felt that something was wrong with Zhongzhe. He had been helping Lin Yuan without saying anything. He had even wanted to use his creation master resources to reduce Lin Yuan's pressure. This was not at all in line with Zhongzhe's usual character. Zhongzhe, who had always been indifferent to other people's matters, took the initiative to ask about Lin Yuan's situation. This meant that Zhongzhe was worried about Lin Yuan's body. Zhongzhe taking the initiative to care about someone was really too abnormal. Zhongzhe had always disdained to disguise his attitude towards anyone. Even Tianfeng's disciple Zhongzhe wouldn't hesitate to throw his face away when he needed to, not leaving any face behind. However, what puzzled Gulang was that Zhongzhe and Lin Yuan had only met a few times. When did the two of them form such a deep friendship? As soon as Lin Yuan finished talking about his situation, Lu Jie spoke first. If there's something, the 8 of us will have a brief discussion first. We'll talk about it in detail during the day. Lin Yuan, I will heat up a cup of light milk tea cow's milk for you in a while. Drinking it can calm your nerves. Lin Yuan nodded in response. Some time ago, Lu Jie participated in a private auction and bought 2 light milk tea cows. Light milk tea cows usually didn't eat grass, only tea. The milk they produced was incomparably mellow, and at the same time, it also had a faint tea fragrance and sweetness. After it was boiled, some equinox fruits with a sleeping effect would be added. With the sweet milk with the tea fragrance and the soft texture of the equinox fruits, one would definitely have a good night's sleep. Lu Jie and Lin Yuan's conversation immediately let everyone capture a piece of information. Lin Yuan and Lu Jie lived together. It could be said that among the 8 people who were currently on the phone, Lu Jie was the most mysterious to Gao Feng, Gulang, Zhongzhe, Sun Ningxiang, Long Tao, Li Xian and the others. Lu Jie had been wearing the Spirit Guard's standard mask, so no one knew what he looked like behind the mask. Looking at the Spirit Guard's standard mask on Lu Jie's face, Lin Yuan felt like laughing. In fact, it was reasonable to say that after participating in the Nix assembly, Lu Jie could completely expose his identity, but he didn't. It was unknown if Lu Jie was addicted to wearing the mask. Lu Jie also asked his master, Night Leaning Moon, to create a mask made of 1,000 pieces of machinery for him. This mask made of 1,000 pieces of machinery looked no different from the Spirit Guard's standard mask. However, it could freely change and combine with the movements of Lu Jie's face. Lu Jie could even wear this mask to eat and drink. When Lu Jie had returned to the mansion with this mask, Hu Quan had been shocked at first glance. Finally, after studying Lu Jie's mask for a day, Hu Quan was somewhat disheartened to find that he could not imitate the mask's machinery at all. This made Hu Quan feel frustrated for the first time since becoming a Class 5 spirit craftsman. This also made Hu Chuanmong full of energy, wanting to improve his spirit craftsman's strength again. It was unknown if it was because of this blow, but Hu Quan had already entered seclusion with Lin Yuan's heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. Lin Yuan was looking forward to what Hu Quan could weave those heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls into after he came out of seclusion. Gao Feng looked at the listless Lin Yuan and instructed, "Brother, don't stay up late if you have nothing to do. Brother, don't stay up late if you have nothing to do. It's not good for your health. I'll bring you some deep-sea fish brains for tomorrow's dinner. These deep-sea fish brains are extracted from the brains of deep-sea platinum and above fish phase. It has an immediate effect on fatigue recovery." Upon hearing Gao Feng's instructions, Lin Yuan could not help but roll his eyes. When Lin Yuan had spoken to Gao Feng on the phone previously, he had heard from Gao Feng that he would secretly pretend to be asleep whenever his family urged him to sleep. In the latter half of the night he would secretly use the Star Web card to log into the Star Web. How could a person with such a routine tell him to sleep early? Speaking of which, they would go to Zhongzhe's place for a meal at noon tomorrow. Tonight they should be talking about the meal as well. The people in this small group had jointly established a force to develop the Abyss World. Could be said that they were all on the same side. Long Tao knew his identity as Black. Therefore he did not need to be apprehensive when speaking. Lin Yuan asked Gao Feng. "Gao Feng, you said you were looking for a guild club that could participate in the S tournament. Have you found it yet?" Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Gao pouted and said with some anger, "Before I became Teacher Cicada's disciple, I applied to a few B-rank clubs, but they all rejected me. I heard that White Devil left the Extreme Guild Club, so I wanted to give it a try. However, even a second-rate guild club like the Extreme Guild Club is picky about me." Chapter 1081. As Miao Ji spoke, the more she looked at Zheng Kaiyuan's broken teeth, the more her heart ached. At the same time, the anger in her heart began to surge. The anger finally piled up and turned into a thick killing intent. This killing intent was targeted at Sky City's city lord, the youth who knocked out Zheng Kaiyuan's teeth. In Miao Ji's opinion, her son Zheng Kaiyuan was a dragon among men. When he was 11 or 12 years old, he had displayed powerful creation master talent. Without even needing her to say anything, Zheng Kaiyuan's creation master talent had caught her elder sister's eye and been accepted as a disciple. At the end of the day, Zheng Kaiyuan had not had any opportunities because the Zheng family was just a veteran faction. Furthermore, it was not a top faction. Not long ago, her son had the opportunity to participate in a top event like the Nix Assembly and immediately seized the opportunity. Miao Zhua and Miao Qi had gotten into trouble and been kicked out of the Nix Assembly. Instead, her son Zheng Kaiyuan had stayed in the Nix Assembly and brought back the news that the Radiance Federation's Class 6 Abyss Rift was about to open. Her son Zheng Kaiyuan had even become friends with the Moon Empress disciple at the Nix Assembly. He had even gotten the Moon Empress disciple's contact information. One had to know that a mobile phone number was an extremely private thing for people with status. People with status would not leave their contact information for ordinary acquaintances. After Miao Ji married into the Zheng family, her father Zheng Ji did not allow her to return to the Miao family even during the New Year. When she called for New Year's greetings, Zheng Ji would not pick up the phone. This made Miao Ji feel a trace of hostility toward the Miao family. For so many years, Miao Ji had been longing to return to the Miao family, but there was no way. Now that Miao Ji had returned to the Miao family, she was personally welcomed by her father, Miao Zhenshan. As his daughter, Miao Ji knew how snobbish and indifferent Miao Zhenshan was. Therefore, Miao Ji's mentality changed when her father personally welcomed her back to the Miao family. She felt that the Miao family now had to rely on her son Zheng Kaiyuan. Before Miao Ji got married, she was rather polite to some of the old servants of the Miao family. Now that she had returned to the Miao family, she put on the airs of a master. Miao Ji's words made Zheng Kaiyuan's eyes light up. If he could really make Elder Han, who had always been by his grandfather's side, represent the Zheng family to fight the Sky City. Given old Han's fourth tribulation creation strength at Monarch Class 5, there was nothing for him to worry about. With old Han's strength, he could even easily annihilate some of the lower-ranked peak forces. Not to mention a sky castle that had just been established not long ago. However, Miao Ji's words caused the old man who was pacing in the room to stiffen. Then the old man's expression suddenly darkened, revealing an extremely displeased expression. Zheng Kaiyuan, who had turned to look at Miao Ji and her joyful expression, couldn't help but have a complicated look in his eyes. Zheng Ji was a peak-level emperor stage powerhouse, as well as the Zheng family's old patriarch. His heart and soul were devoted to the Zheng family's development. Zheng Ji had spent a lot of effort fighting with the other two veteran forces in Indigo Azure City all year round. Zheng Ji was developing the Zheng family with great effort, mainly for the continuation of the Zheng family's foundation. At the same time, it was also for his own reputation. Zheng Ji had always taken a steady path to develop the Zheng family. He was afraid that some problems would cause the other two veteran forces in Indigo Azure City to launch a counterattack against the Zheng family. Zheng Ji had agreed to Zheng Kaiyuan's suggestion to have a blood oath duel with Sky Castle this time because he had already regarded Zheng Kaiyuan as the next family patriarch after so many years. Zheng Ji was now in his 70s and 80s, but he was still the Zheng family patriarch. It was because his son was useless. However, his son was good at seducing women. He had even seduced Miao Ji from the top faction Beast Creation Garden. At first, Zheng Ji had been quite optimistic about his daughter-in-law, Miao Ji. Later, Zheng Ji realized that after Miao Ji married over, she didn't bring much of the Miao family's resources to the Zheng family. Even the Miao family didn't recognize Miao Ji as a member of the Miao family. Later, when Zheng Kaiyuan was born, Miao Qi accepted Zheng Kaiyuan as a disciple. Through Miao Qi's connections, the Miao family began to take out some resources to support the Zheng family. If the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden was willing to support Li Yun Miao Can like how Coiled Dragon Valley had done back then, the Zheng family would have been in a different situation in Indigo Azure City. Indigo Azure City was ranked at the bottom of the 36 major cities and didn't have a top faction. If the Zheng family could borrow the Miao family's power to annex the other two families and integrate Indigo Azure City's resources. After a few years of development, the Zheng family could become a new nobleman among the top factions. At the thought of this, Zheng Ji sighed. His three grandsons were all geniuses. His eldest grandson, Zheng Kading, was now a Radiance 100 sequence member and didn't put his mind on the development of the family's faction. In fact, Xingji's earliest choice for the Zheng family patriarch was his youngest grandson Zheng Kaiyan. Zheng Kaiyan was born with 6 fingers. He had been smart since young and had a lot of ideas. At a young age he had shown his passion and talent for faction development. However, because of that accident that could not be investigated, Zheng Kaiyan had been in a wheelchair forever. He had also started to become eccentric and moody. For the sake of his reputation, Xingji couldn't let a person in a wheelchair who couldn't stand up become the Zheng family patriarch. In the end, Xingji's gaze was still on Zheng Kaiyuan. However, Zheng Kaiyuan was more passionate about the Miao family than the Zheng family. Ever since the Nix assembly ended, he hadn't returned to the Zheng family. Xingji agreed to carry out the Blood Oath Extreme Duel with Sky City because of the Miao family's 2 Ultimate Emperor Realm experts who had 2 Pinnacle Myth 3 phase. It was because of these 2 Ultimate Emperor Realm experts who had 2 Pinnacle Myth 3 phase that Xingji chose to take the risk. Xingji always felt that it wasn't safe to target Sky City because of the Creation Master resources that Sky City possessed. However, Zheng Kaiyuan's attitude towards the Blood Oath Extreme Duel with Sky City was abnormally firm. In the end, Zheng Kaiyuan had to use his relationship with the Moon Empress disciple to finally convince Xingji. It was definitely a good thing for the Zheng family patriarch, Miao Zhenshan, to let Elder Han help the Zheng family in the Blood Oath Extreme Duel. However, Miao Ji said to let Elder Han replace a member of the Zheng family. What was the Zheng family? Wasn't the Zheng family a family? Furthermore, he was the only member of the Zheng family who would participate in the Blood Oath Extreme Duel. If he was replaced, the Zheng family would send 3 members of the Miao family to participate in the Blood Oath Extreme Duel. The other factions could spectate the Blood Oath Extreme Duel at the Extreme Duel. If the Zheng family only sent one of their own, it would be inevitable for people to talk behind their backs. If the Zheng family didn't send a single member, others would probably think that the Miao family had swallowed the Zheng family. Where would the Zheng family and himself put their reputation? End of this chapter. Chapter 1082. The Blood Oath battle consisted of 3 matches. The winner of the previous match could choose not to leave the arena and continue fighting. With Old Han around, Miao Ji could suggest to replace the other 2 peak emperors of the Miao family with someone from the Zheng family. From Miao Ji's words, Xingji knew that Miao Ji didn't think of him or the Zheng family. Even though Miao Ji was the daughter-in-law of the Zheng family, her surname was still Miao. But when he saw Zheng Kaiyuan, who was being groomed as the head of the Zheng family, he was delighted and didn't think of the Zheng family at all. Xingji seemed to have aged a few decades in an instant. Even his aura and sharpness had disappeared. Xingji sighed. Forget it. How long can these old bones of mine manage the Zheng family? In the end, the younger generation of the Zheng family is the future of the Zheng family. But could the younger generation of the Zheng family really give the Zheng family a future? Xingji suddenly thought of Zheng Kaiyan. If it was Zheng Kaiyan, he definitely wouldn't stand on the Zheng family's side and consider the Zheng family's problems. Zheng Kaiyuan turned to look at his grandfather Xingji, who was pleasantly surprised. Zheng Kaiyuan, who had turned around, was stunned. He felt that his grandfather, Xingji, gave him a different feeling, especially the way he looked at him. But Zheng Kaiyuan didn't think too much about it. Grandfather, why don't you come with us to find grandfather and see if he can get Old Han to help the Zheng family with the Blood Oath battle? Xingji's cold heart died when he heard Zheng Kaiyuan's words. He had watched his grandson grow up. Did he expect him, the grandfather, to lower his voice and beg his grandfather? Xingji tilted his head and looked at Zheng Kaiyuan. He seemed to be trying to figure out how Zheng Kaiyuan had thought of this and said it. At this moment, Xingji felt that the future of the Zheng family was a joke. Forget it, I won't go. If you want to go, you can go. However, this old man must represent the Zheng family in the Zheng family's Blood Oath Extreme battle. With that, Xingji turned and left the room. Xingji's words made Miao Ji frown. She looked very unhappy. However, Zheng Kaiyuan immediately understood what was going on with his grandfather. Usually, Zheng Kaiyuan would have gone to explain the situation to his grandfather. But this time Zheng Kaiyuan did not do so. In the past few days he had been treated as a distinguished guest in the Miao family. Even the Miao family's previous eldest young master, Miao Zhuo, and the current eldest young master, Miao He, had to be polite to him because of his identity as the Moon Empress disciple and friend. Zheng Kaiyuan, who had been in such an environment for a long time, couldn't help but look down on the Jing clan, a veteran force that he was born in. He had also lost some of the respect he had for his grandfather, the head of the family. When Miao Ji and Jing Kaiyuan arrived at the Jing family's main residence to meet Miao Zhinshan was guiding Miao He on his creation master homework. After Miao Zhuo was crippled, Miao Zhinshan single-handedly trained Miao He. He wanted to train Miao He so that Miao He's abilities were worthy of his status as the Miao family's young master. He had just hosted a welcoming banquet for the Jing family, and now Miao Ji and Jing Kaiyuan were asking to see him. This caused Miao Zhinshan to frown. During this period of time, if there was anyone in the Miao family who disliked Jing Kaiyuan the most, it would definitely not be Miao Zhuo, who had been ridiculed by Jing Kaiyuan. Nor was it Miao He, who had been tricked by Jing Kaiyuan. It was the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden's current family head, Miao Zhinshan. Miao Zhuo didn't even need to say anything when Jing Kaiyuan ridiculed Miao Zhuo. The rest of the Miao family would report this matter to Miao Zhinshan. The conflict that had happened in the Spirit Food Pavilion that day was of great importance. Jing Kaiyuan didn't say anything, but Miao He didn't dare to hide it. Miao He took the risk of being punished and told Miao Zhinshan everything. He had also specifically mentioned how Jing Kaiyuan had hit him while he was down in front of Lin Yuan and had nearly burned him. Jing Kaiyuan's behavior toward Miao He could be said to have violated Miao Zhinshan's taboo. Miao Zhinshan almost couldn't tolerate Jing Kaiyuan anymore. However, according to Miao He, Lin Yuan had indeed invited Jing Kaiyuan to his home as a guest. This meant that the relationship between Jing Kaiyuan and Lin Yuan was really like what Jing Kaiyuan had said. It might even be better than what Jing Kaiyuan had said. Therefore, Miao Zhinshan suppressed his dislike for Jing Kaiyuan and specially brought Miao He to the conference hall to receive Jing Kaiyuan and Miao Ji, who had come to visit late at night. Miao He, who was following behind Miao Zhinshan, revealed a sarcastic smile when he saw that his grandfather was heading to the guest hall instead of the study room. Jing Kaiyuan was so arrogant, but in his grandfather's heart he was just a guest. It was the same for his aunt Miao Ji. A married daughter was like spilled water. If this water was splashed into the imperial garden, it would be stained with some of the imperial garden's value. However, if this water was splashed on the weeds, who would be willing to scoop up this dirty water? After Miao Zhinshan received Miao Ji and Jing Kaiyuan in the living room, Jing Kaiyuan and Miao Ji left the living room excitedly. After seeing Miao Ji and Jing Kaiyuan leave, Miao He couldn't help but ask, "Grandfather, are you really going to let Grandfather Han help the Jing family in the Blood Oath Extreme Duel?" How can a veteran faction like the Jing family be worthy of Grandfather Han's help? Moreover, the Miao family is so great at this time and the Jing family is sending out such high-end combat power. It is really too conspicuous. After saying that, Miao He didn't continue. Miao He knew that if he continued he would have to mention his aunt Miao Qi and big brother Miao Zhuo. No matter how he looked at it, he would have the suspicion of trampling on his own family. Miao He's words made Miao Zhinshan's expression darken. How could Miao Zhinshan not know this? After the Nix assembly, many top factions that had worked with the Miao family before had a drastic change in attitude towards the Miao family. Many of their collaborations were forced to stop, causing the Miao family to suffer significant losses. At this moment, it would not be a wise choice for the Miao family to do anything. However, Miao Zhinshan still had to rely on Jing Kaiyuan to maintain his relationship with the Moon Empress disciple. The Coiling Dragon Valley had obtained so many golden lotus brocade stalks, and the most uncomfortable was the Beast Creation Garden, which had a hostile relationship with the Coiling Dragon Valley. The Beast Creation Garden was originally at a disadvantage compared to the Coiling Dragon Valley. If they still couldn't obtain the golden lotus brocade stalks, the Beast Creation Garden would be left behind by the Coiling Dragon Valley. In Miao Zhinshan's opinion, if he followed Jing Kaiyuan's wishes, Jing Kaiyuan would also try his best to help the Miao family close the distance with Lin Yuan. Recently, the Miao family had sent a few apology letters to the Spirit Guard's young palatial lord, wanting to apologize for Miao Zhuo's incident in Yeong Palace. However, these apology letters that were sent to the Spirit Guards were like leaves falling into the water. They didn't even cause a ripple. As long as the Spirit Guard's young palatial lord didn't reply, Miao Zhinshan's heart wouldn't be at ease. End of this chapter. Chapter 1083. Furthermore, if the major factions wanted to enter the Abyss world through the Class 6 Abyss dimensional rift, They would need the approval of the spirit guards. If they offended the chief guard's disciple and didn't receive her forgiveness, how was the Miao family going to enter the abyss world? The Miao family's elder association had already discussed the development of the abyss world many times and had even prepared the development personnel. If the Miao family couldn't enter the abyss world, their previous preparations would be in vain. Even the Miao family would become the laughingstock of the veteran factions and pinnacle factions. Even those rising powers would poke at the Miao family's back and talk about them. Even if the Miao family still had the strength, their reputation and influence would fall from the sky and be trampled on by others. By then, no faction would be willing to cooperate with the Miao family's beast creation garden. That way, the Miao family's beast creation garden would truly penetrate the Earth's core. At the thought of this, Miao Zhenshan's expression became even more worried. In another half a month, the major factions would be able to enter the abyss world with the approval of the spirit guards. The next morning, Lin Yuan woke up and stretched his body, feeling extremely comfortable. A night of peaceful sleep had washed away his fatigue. Lin Yuan felt that if he went to sleep when he was extremely sleepy, he would sleep exceptionally soundly for the entire night. Just as Lin Yuan was about to get up, he realized that Genius and Chimey were already up. However, Genius and Chimey were nestled in his embrace and didn't move. It was obvious that they were afraid of disturbing his sleep. Upon seeing that Lin Yuan had woken up, Genius and Chimey immediately pounced into Lin Yuan's embrace and played with him. Then Genius said in a childish voice, "Lin Yuan, Genius wants to go to the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone to teach those 100 questions beasts. In another week or so, those 100 questions beasts will all be able to reach Diamond X/Legend." Chimey immediately said, "Lin Yuan, Chimey also wants to go to the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone to sing. If you do the live streaming for a while longer, you will be able to obtain plenty of rewards for the Warm Sun Fund." Upon hearing Genius and Chimey's words, Lin Yuan couldn't help but sigh. The two little fellows that were originally sticking to him had grown up and had clear goals and things to do. Lin Yuan hugged Genius and Chimey before sending them back to the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone. According to what Genius had said, his 100 Questions Beast army would take shape in another month. 50 Diamond X/Legend 100 Questions Beasts were equivalent to 50 Pinnacle Class 3 Creation Masters. Furthermore, the 100 Questions Beasts that Genius had taught had much more knowledge than those Pinnacle Class 3 Creation Masters. It was even more solid. After looking at the time, Lin Yuan realized that it was already 8:30 am under normal circumstances. The manor would have breakfast at around 7:30 am. And Wen Yu and Lu Jia would wake everyone up before 7:30 am. Wen Yu and Lu Jia didn't wake him up today, presumably because Lu Jia saw that he was too tired last night. He wanted to have a good rest today. When he went downstairs, he saw Wen Yu quickly flipping through stacks of paper documents on the table. Lu Jia, on the other hand, was filling a basket with crab dumplings. There was a small plate on the table with 3 pork dumplings and 3 crab roe dumplings on it. It was prepared according to Lin Yuan's usual appetite. Upon seeing Lin Yuan come down, Wen Yu spoke with a smile. "Young master, I've reorganized the information on the Dark Federation and confirmed that there are no mistakes. As for what happened to the Whale Ocean Trading Company, I have not asked Ji Feng in detail. Thus, I have not sorted out the detailed information." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan nodded. He felt that there was no need to inform the Moon Empress about the Whale Ocean trade. Even if Lin Yuan accepted Ji Feng and learned from him that there had been a huge change in the Whale Ocean trading, he would not be able to do anything about it. However, this was just a family affair of the Whale Ocean trade. However, he had to drag out everything about the Tower Cannon and the Dark Continent to his master, the Moon Empress, regardless of how big or small it was. As Su Yiren was a dark emissary chosen by the 7 states, she knew the core secrets of the Dark Federation. Although the Dark Federation no longer existed, the information that Su Yiren had was very useful to the entire Radiance Federation. A part of it was even related to the 100-year plan of the Pagoda Cannon, the revival of the Slumbering One. Lu Jia put the food basket on the table and said after he finished the 3 pork pine kernel shumai and 3 crab roe dumplings on the plate. "Lin Yuan, do I have to wait for you at the foot of the Leaning Moon Mountain before going to Zhongzhe?" Lin Yuan shook his head in response. "Big brother Lu, you go to Zhongzhe first. I'll go there directly at noon. After the question and answer session with teacher, I might be a little late." After saying that, Lin Yuan handed an ethereal jellyfish tentacle to Lu Jia. Upon seeing that, Lu Jie took the tentacle and said, "Then I'll put this tentacle at the entrance of Copper Crane Alley. Then I will place this tentacle at the entrance of Copper Crane Alley. It will be more convenient for you when you come here." After chatting with Lu Jie and Wen Yu for a while, Lin Yuan put the information about the Dark Federation and the Tower Cannon, as well as the food basket containing the crab roe dumplings, into the amber button-shaped diamond face storage box. Then Lin Yuan used the ethereal jellyfish's ability node to teleport to the Radiant Moon Palace's entrance. Upon seeing Lin Yuan, Yin Cha and Kai Cha, who were guarding the Radiant Moon Palace's entrance, hurriedly bowed. After bowing as a greeting, Yin Cha said, "Good morning, young lord." "Good morning, young lord. The Moon Empress is currently receiving guests in the front hall." After Yin Cha finished speaking, Kai Cha added, "The Bamboo Monarch's eldest disciple Xiachen has brought the Bamboo Monarch's youngest disciple, Gu Lang, to pay a visit to the Moon Empress. It seems like they are here to thank the Moon Empress." After finishing her sentence, Kai Cha muttered something. The Moon Empress just returned from the Purple Bamboo Garden, and the people from the Purple Bamboo Garden came looking for her. I really don't know how much favor the Bamboo Monarch owes the Moon Empress. Just as Kai Cha finished speaking, she was hit on the back of her head by Yin Cha. Yin Cha gave Kai Cha a rebuking look. Kai Cha was truly impudent. She was already in her 40s, yet she was still so immature. How could a tea attendant casually fabricate the Bamboo Monarch's gratitude towards the Moon Empress? After being hit by Yin Cha, Kai Cha rubbed the back of her head in pain and stuck out her tongue. "It's because your highness doesn't know the situation. Let me explain it to your highness. If it was someone else, how could I possibly say such a thing?" Upon hearing Kai Cha's words, Lin Yuan raised his brows. He recalled the brocade box of astrological wisdom epiphyllum pollen that he had given to the Moon Empress. This brocade box of astrological wisdom epiphyllum pollen wasn't as simple as a favor to the Bamboo Monarch. A brocade box of astrological wisdom epiphyllum pollen was enough to save the Bamboo Monarch's love. It had also turned the situation of certain death into a harmonious coexistence between the two of them. End of this chapter. Chapter 1084. When he arrived at the Radiant Moon Palace's front hall, he saw his master, the Moon Empress, sitting on the moonlight throne. Xiachen bent over and held a white jade box that was about 1.5 meters long in his hand. He held it in front of him. It was as though he was presenting a gift to his master, the Moon Empress. Gu Lang held a slightly smaller brocade box in his hand and did the same thing as Xiachen. Unlike the white jade box in Xiachen's hand, the brocade box in Gu Lang's hand had a jeweled pavilion embroidered with golden patterns. The items in the box were also emitting a bright green luster. The shade of green seemed to be the purest shade of green in the world. The green was majestic like that of an emperor. At first glance, one would feel that all the greenery in the world couldn't compare to this pure green. The brocade box was embroidered with the symbol of the elegant treasure pavilion. It was likely that Wang Fuxiang had taken the brocade box to thank the Moon Empress. When Lin Yuan arrived at the Radiant Moon Palace's entrance, the Moon Empress sensed his arrival. Upon seeing that Lin Yuan had arrived at the main hall, the Moon Empress waved her hand and spoke. "Little Yuan, come sit in front of Master." As the Moon Empress spoke, Mystic Moon, who was standing behind her, brought over a chair that was slightly smaller than the Moon Empress Moonlight Throne. This chair was 80% to 90% similar to the Moon Empress Moonlight Throne, and the materials used were almost the same as the Moonlight Throne. Upon hearing his master, the Moon Empress, calling out to him, Lin Yuan went to greet her. After that, he nodded at Xian Yu as a form of greeting. Lin Yuan sat on the seat beside the Moon Empress Moonlight Throne, causing Mystic Moon's brows to jump. Xian Yu didn't know what had happened to the Moon Empress. Not only did she replicate the Moon Empress's royal robe for the young lord and the others, but she also didn't wear it. Now he had made a copy of the Moonlight Throne for the young highness. Xian Yu felt that the Moon Empress' love for the young highness could no longer be described as simple pampering. She simply treated the young highness as her own eyeball and cherished him. Upon seeing Gu Lang, Lin Yuan raised his brows. He and Gu Lang had exchanged contact information at the Nix assembly previously. After listening to Long Tao's thoughts, Lin Yuan took the initiative to create a group chat and establish a faction with Gu Lang. After 2 chats in the group, everyone became closer to each other. Although Lin Yuan hadn't interacted with Gu Lang for a long time and hadn't interacted with him many times, Gu Lang wasn't an ordinary person. However, with common interests, Lin Yuan and Gu Lang could be considered friends. Everyone had just had a group video chat last night, but Gu Lang didn't mention that he was going to the Radiant Moon Palace this morning. Gu Lang, who was holding the brocade box, wasn't surprised to see Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan was the young lord of the Radiant Moon Palace, so it was normal for him to come to the Radiant Moon Palace. Gu Lang had come to the Radiant Moon Palace this morning because his eldest senior brother, Zhou Xian, had informed him at the last moment. If Gu Lang had known last night that he would be coming to the Radiant Moon Palace today, Gu Lang felt that he might as well have informed Lin Yuan in advance. If Lin Yuan could introduce her, it wouldn't be so troublesome to meet the Moon Empress. The Moon Empress looked at Lin Yuan, who was sitting beside her, and revealed a faint smile. Then the Moon Empress looked at the jade box in Zhou Qian's hands and spoke with some surprise. This Empress remembers that after the Bamboo Monarch's golden silk emperor bamboo broke through that realm, it only produced 2 seedlings. I heard from the Bamboo Monarch that one of these 2 seedlings was given to one of his disciples many years ago. It seems that the brocade box contains the Bamboo Monarch's remaining golden silk emperor bamboo that hasn't been contracted yet. Forming a contract with the golden silk emperor bamboo has an extremely high requirement for one's soul. The sacred source life form must be at the late stage of class 4 to ensure that the golden silk emperor bamboo's bamboo force won't impact the soul when forming a contract with it. The Bamboo Monarch didn't leave something like the golden silk emperor bamboo for his descendants, but he was actually willing to bring it to this Empress's radiant night palace. When Lin Yuan heard the Moon Empress mention the golden silk emperor bamboo, he couldn't help but look at the jade box. There was a purplish gold bamboo shoot that was nearly 1 meter long in the jade box. The purplish gold bamboo shoot was like a rich jade, and the golden threads on it were like rays of light that were scattered in the sunset. It was abnormally beautiful. Lin Yuan knew about the golden silk emperor bamboo. Lin Yuan wasn't the only one who knew about it. Even the rising factions would know about the Bamboo Monarch's signature Fei, which was one of the 3 Class 5 creation masters. The golden silk emperor bamboo wasn't a combat class Fei, but a Fei with special abilities. The golden silk emperor bamboo's abilities were all to support the creation master's abilities. It could be said that the Bamboo Monarch's current achievements couldn't be separated from the golden silk emperor bamboo's help. His master, the Moon Empress, said that the Bamboo Monarch had given his disciple a golden silk emperor bamboo 10 years ago. The golden silk emperor bamboo had a requirement for one's soul. 10 years ago, Gu Lang hadn't even reached the age to form a contract with a sacred source life form, let alone raise it to the late stage of class 4. The Bamboo Monarch only had 2 disciples, so the disciple who had formed the contract with the golden silk emperor bamboo should have been Zhou Xian, who was holding the jade box. If not for the brocade box of astrological epiphyllum pollen, the Bamboo Monarch would have left this uncontracted golden silk emperor bamboo for Gu Lang. In fact, Lin Yuan had guessed correctly. When Gu Lang heard the Moon Empress words, he raised his head and looked at the golden silk emperor bamboo in the jade box. His eyes revealed a reluctant expression. Gu Lang had been working hard to raise his sacred source lifeform star class. When Zhongzai's sacred source lifeform was at the late stage of class 3, Gu Lang's sacred source lifeform was already at class 4. This was closely related to Gu Lang's desire to obtain the golden silk emperor bamboo from the Bamboo Monarch. It was because of this golden silk emperor bamboo that Gu Lang had been constantly encouraging Gu Lang. However, when the Bamboo Monarch had chosen to give this uncontracted golden silk emperor bamboo to the Moon Empress as a thank you gift, Gu Lang didn't have any objections. Even if this golden silk emperor bamboo should have belonged to him, Gu Lang understood how much the Radiant Moon Palace owed the Purple Bamboo Garden. As the Bamboo Monarch's youngest disciple, Gu Lang understood his master's intentions. Without the box of astrological epiphyllum pollen, his master would have to choose between him and his wife. His master would definitely choose to abandon him without hesitation to protect his wife. It could be said that the Moon Empress' arrival with the pollen was equivalent to saving his master's life. Even if Gu Lang had to pay with his life, let alone an uncontracted golden silk emperor bamboo, Gu Lang would be willing. No matter how much Gu Lang understood the Radiant Moon Palace's kindness to the Purple Bamboo Garden, humans had emotions and desires. Even if he couldn't bear to part with it, he would still be reluctant. Losing the Golden Silk Emperor Bamboo had a huge impact on Gulang. Without the Golden Silk Emperor Bamboo, Gulang wouldn't be able to inherit the Bamboo Monarch's creation master technique that used the Golden Silk Emperor Bamboo as the main support method. This made Gulang's status as the Bamboo Monarch's disciple seem somewhat nominal. If Gulang wanted to grow in the future, he could only try to open up a path that belonged to him. End of this chapter. Chapter 1085. However, opening up one's own path was easier said than done. Every Pinnacle Class 4 Creation Master would want to open up a path that belonged to them. However, after so many years, none of these Pinnacle Class 4 Creation Masters who wanted to open up their own path had succeeded. At that moment, the Moon Empress looked at the brocade box in Gulang's hand. Upon seeing the item in the brocade box, the Moon Empress looked tempted. There really are some treasures hidden in the elegant jade pavilion. There's actually Emperor's Rhyme's Spirit Jade, and it's the best of the glass type. Compared to the Golden Silk Emperor Bamboo, the pure spiritual energy in this glass type Emperor's Charm Spirit Jadeite is more useful to me. The Moon Empress said to Mystic Moon, who was beside her. Xianyu, go and accept these 2 items for this Empress. Upon hearing that, Mystic Moon stepped forward and took the jade box from Xiaochen's hands as well as the brocade box from Gulang's hands before returning to the Moon Empress side. The Moon Empress scrutinized the glass-type Imperial Aura Spirit Jade that was the size of a human head. Then he reached out to pick up the uncontracted Golden Silk Emperor Bamboo from the jade box and placed it in Lin Yuan's hand. Little Yuan, take this Golden Silk Emperor Bamboo. The bamboo leaves of the Golden Thread Emperor Bamboo can purify the concentration of spirit energy. The bamboo pole can assist in the concoction of spirit liquid, shortening the formation speed of the spirit liquid, and stirring the spirit liquid with the bamboo branch can increase the fusion rate of the spirit materials in the spirit liquid. If you carry out the contract, it will be of great help to the Creation Master's ability. Upon hearing the Moon Empress words, Lin Yuan looked up at Gulang and immediately saw Gulang's reluctant expression. Lin Yuan reached out and took the Golden Silk Emperor Bamboo from the Moon Empress. However, Lin Yuan had no intention of contracting the Golden Silk Emperor Bamboo. The Golden Silk Emperor Bamboo might be a treasure to other Creation Masters, but it was nothing to Lin Yuan. This was because Lin Yuan was not using conventional Creation Master methods to enhance phase. However, since it was bestowed by his master, the Moon Empress, he did not reject it. After experiencing some things, Lin Yuan no longer thought of things so simply and he was no longer so stubborn. He would no longer be as stubborn as he was in the past, thinking of relying on himself for everything. Even if his master, the Moon Empress, gave him something, he would not accept it. Lin Yuan still had to rely on himself, but he would no longer reject the things that his master, the Moon Empress, had given him. At the same time, he recalled what his master, the Moon Empress, had said when she had seen the glass-type Emperor Aura Spirit Jade. This meant that his master, the Moon Empress, had a need for pure spirit qi. Furthermore, pure spirit qi was very important to his master, the Moon Empress. Otherwise, given Lin Yuan's understanding of the Moon Empress, if it was not important, she would definitely not reveal an abnormal expression when she saw the glass-type Emperor Aura Spirit Jade. Speaking of pure spirit qi, Lin Yuan had plenty of it. However, now that Gulang and Xiachen were here, it clearly wasn't a good time to mention pure spirit qi to the Moon Empress. Although Lin Yuan treated Gulang as a good friend, he was still able to differentiate between close and distant. There were some things that Lin Yuan could tell the Moon Empress because she was his master and was like family to him. However, there were some things that he would never tell his friends no matter how close they were. Lin Yuan's arrival made the Moon Empress no longer in the mood to talk to Xiachen and Gulang in the front hall. I already understand Bamboo Monarch's intentions. Go back and tell Bamboo Monarch not to take any more treasures from the Radiant Moon Palace. I don't lack treasures. If I need to trouble Bamboo Monarch with anything in the future, I will naturally ask. Upon hearing the Moon Empress words, Gulang and Xiachen hurriedly responded. Xiachen replied, Moon Empress, I will leave the Leaning Moon Mountain with junior brother to report to master. Before Gulang left, he looked at Lin Yuan and waved his hand as a farewell. Then he left the Radiant Moon Palace with Xiachen. After leaving the Radiant Moon Palace, Xiachen looked at Gulang with a gentle gaze. Junior brother, Do you remember the exclusive skill that my Golden Silk Emperor Bamboo obtained when it became a myth breed? My Golden Silk Emperor Bamboo is now at the peak of Myth 3 and will soon become a creation breed. After becoming a creation breed, according to the exclusive skill that my Golden Silk Emperor Bamboo obtained, I can use the Calamity of Creation to rebirth the Golden Silk Emperor Bamboo. Through the attack of the Calamity of Creation, I can completely erase the traces of me on the reborn Golden Silk Emperor Bamboo. Master gave away the Golden Silk Emperor Bamboo that originally belonged to you, so I will give you my Golden Silk Emperor Bamboo. Gu Lang hurriedly shook his head and grabbed Xia Chen's sleeve. Eldest senior brother, you mustn't. Even if you give me your Golden Silk Emperor Bamboo, I don't want it. If you really do that, I won't be a creation master in the future. As Gu Lang's eldest senior brother, Xia Chen treated Gu Lang meticulously. The Bamboo Monarch had been busy finding a partner for so many years, and Gu Lang had been brought up by Xia Chen for more than half of his life. Gu Lang knew very well how good his eldest senior brother was to him. However, Gu Lang accepted his eldest senior brother's kindness, but it didn't mean that his eldest senior brother could harm him to help him. Upon hearing Gu Lang's words, Xia Chen sighed softly. His youngest junior brother's creation master talent was stronger than his. But because he didn't have the Golden Silk Emperor Bamboo, his youngest junior brother could no longer take Master's path. Sigh. Xia Chen's sigh was filled with helplessness. Xia Chen's sigh was coincidentally heard by Cold Moon, who had just returned to the Radiant Moon Palace. Cold Moon curled her lips. Was Bamboo Monarch's eldest disciple sighing and lamenting that Bamboo Monarch was a troublesome person? From Tsang Yu's point of view, the Bamboo Monarch was indeed a troublesome person. He was still so affectionate despite his age. Isn't it good to be single like me? Amen. Whoever dared to chase him was lusting after his body, and he would definitely break the legs of those who dared to chase him. Just like Marquis Jingshi, who was still sitting in a wheelchair. When they arrived at the Radiant Moon Palace's inner palace, Lin Yuan hurriedly took out the food basket from the diamond face storage box and said to the Moon Empress, "Master, this is the crab dumpling that Lu Jie made this morning. It's still warm." The Moon Empress replied with a smile. "Then we can have some snacks for lunch. At noon I'll make you a honey lotus pond carp. I learned how to make this from Tsang Yue." Upon hearing the Moon Empress words, Mystic Moon, who was standing at the side, didn't dare to speak. "Moon Empress, are you sure that every time you want to cook for His Young Highness it's good for him? Although the food you cook is not bad and can be eaten. But it definitely couldn't compare to a tiny restaurant that only had a few customers in a day. Honey lotus pond carp? The Moon Empress can't be thinking of stewing those diamond spirit siphon goldfish in the lotus pond with the silver auspicious gold luster cassia nectar, right?" Chapter 1086. In the past, as long as the Moon Empress did not move her chopsticks for half an hour, the food would turn cold. No matter how precious the ingredients were, the Moon Empress would not take another bite. I wonder how many bottom lines the Moon Empress has crossed in front of the young lord. Just as she was about to mourn for the diamond spirit siphon goldfish in the lotus pond, Lin Yuan said, "Master, I'm going to Zhong Zai's place for lunch. Master, I'm going to Zhong Zai's place for lunch at noon. We made an appointment in advance." The Moon Empress was a little surprised. She did not expect Lin Yuan to befriend the Chef Supreme's little disciple. She had seen Zhong Zai before, and in her opinion, Zhong Zai was definitely a strange child. However, the Moon Empress would not reject Lin Yuan eating with his friends. On the contrary, as Lin Yuan's master, the Moon Empress hoped that Lin Yuan could interact more with the outside world and make more friends. Compared to how strong Lin Yuan had become, the Moon Empress hoped that Lin Yuan would have a peaceful and carefree life. She recalled that she had given Lin Yuan a fei made from the sacred source life form, the origin water, and asked, "Little Yuan, have you nurtured the origin water? Little Yuan, have you nurtured the origin water?" Lin Yuan nodded and was about to summon Blue Jade for the Moon Empress to take a look when the Moon Empress continued, "Nurture it. Little Yuan, when you grow up, use it as your main fei or a fei with great strategic significance. Don't show it to others easily. When an enemy reveals their trump card, it's best to kill the person who sees your trump card. This way you can guarantee that you will not be targeted." Upon hearing the Moon Empress words, Lin Yuan nodded in agreement. It could be said that his master, the Moon Empress, had reminded him many times that only he knew his trump cards. Lin Yuan had known this principle for a long time. Lin Yuan had been doing this for a long time. Lin Yuan thought about how much the Moon Empress valued the pure spirit qi in the glass-type Emperor Aura Spirit Jadeite. Master, do you need pure spirit qi? The Moon Empress looked at Lin Yuan with a faint smile and reached out to touch the glass-type Emperor Aura Spirit Jadeite. No spirit qi professional doesn't need pure spirit qi, and I am no exception. The spirit qi contained in this glass-type Imperial Aura Spirit Jade is much purer than the spirit qi concocted by a Class 5 creation master. Such pure spirit qi can already allow some Fays that have a special reaction to highly concentrated spirit qi to stimulate their body's genetic model and even obtain a chance to purify their bloodline. Of course, even if the concentration can't purify the bloodline immediately, it's still good to trigger the genetic model. After saying that, the Moon Empress took the glass-type Emperor Charms Spirit Jadeite in front of Lin Yuan. Although the spirit qi that I concoct is not as concentrated as the spirit qi contained in the glass-type Imperial Charms Spiritual Jade, it is almost there. The pure spiritual energy in this glass-type Emperor Aura Spirit Jade will undoubtedly be better for you to use. Upon hearing the Moon Empress words, Lin Yuan felt a warm current gush out of his heart. This heat almost made Lin Yuan's eyes turn red. At such a time his master, the Moon Empress, had chosen to leave the treasure to him when it was useful to him. Lin Yuan felt that there was no need to hide the fact that he possessed pure spirit qi from his master who was so considerate towards him. However, as the Moon Empress disciple, Lin Yuan would remember every instruction from the Moon Empress. Therefore Lin Yuan would not choose to expose Morbius' spirit lock spatial zone and his body's secret. After thinking about it, Lin Yuan chose to use another method to give the pure spirit qi to the Moon Empress. Master, how much pure spirit qi do you need? The Moon Empress looked at Lin Yuan and did not understand why he would ask such a question. Such a precious resource like pure spirit qi would normally only be used to trigger a Phase genetic model, allowing Fays that are sensitive to highly concentrated spirit qi to stimulate their bloodline. Therefore, I don't need to consume a lot of high-concentrated spirit qi. Upon hearing the Moon Empress words, Lin Yuan asked again. What if I keep using high-concentrated spirit qi to nurture Fays and raise their grade and quality? When the Moon Empress heard Lin Yuan's words, she did not know how to answer for a moment. After staying silent for a moment, the Moon Empress said, "It is naturally beneficial to use high-concentrated spirit qi to nurture Fays and raise their grade and quality. Of the two Fays, one will be enhanced to bronze grade with pure spirit qi, while the other will be enhanced to bronze grade with ordinary spirit qi. Their grade and quality are the same and their combat power does not seem to be much different. However, in the end the Fae nurtured with pure spirit qi will definitely defeat the Fae nurtured with ordinary spirit qi." When Lin Yuan had realized that his Fae's grade was too low, he had thought of asking Master Hongshan to concoct a spirit fluid to help increase his Fae's grade. Ultimately, after a mental struggle, Lin Yuan suppressed the idea of asking Master Hongshan for help. Now that he had asked the Moon Empress this question, Lin Yuan's other thoughts had completely vanished. This was because Lin Yuan was even more determined to use the best nurturing method to let his Fays advance to the strongest path. After asking the two questions, Lin Yuan said to the Moon Empress in a solemn tone, "Master, I have spirit qi with a higher concentration than this glass-type Emperor Charms Spirit Jade." Master, I have spirit qi with a higher concentration than the spirit qi in this glass-type Emperor Charms Spirit Jade. Originally, Lin Yuan was planning to give her some spirit qi crystals. He had originally planned to give his master the Moon Empress some spirit qi crystals. He had yet to count the spirit qi crystals that the Pure Land of Bliss had obtained from absorbing the Karma Gladiolus and the pre-ordered Water Lotus World Grace. Moreover, if he wanted to obtain spirit qi crystals in the future, he would only need to absorb the World Grace after the Myth Breed Phase World Cleansing. It wasn't hard to obtain a Myth Breed Phase World Grace. If he wanted to, he could receive a few on Star Web now. However, based on what the Moon Empress had just said, he knew that she had not used much pure spirit qi at once. The spirit qi crystal had another drawback. After the spirit qi crystal was crushed, the pure spirit energy contained in the spirit qi crystal would be exhausted immediately. Otherwise, the pure spirit qi within the spirit qi crystal would spill out into the world. Therefore he needed to think of other ways to give pure spirit qi to the Moon Empress. At that moment, Lin Yuan thought of a flower fae, the spirit containment peony, that was unique to Leaning Moon Mountain's garden and had never been seen in the outside world. With that in mind, Lin Yuan said, "That's right. Master, please give me a cultivation room and a spirit-containing peony. In half an hour I will be able to give you spirit chi with a higher concentration than this glass Emperor Aura spirit jade." Chapter 1087. If someone else had said this, the Moon Empress would not have believed it. However, it was Lin Yuan who said it. Even if he was joking with her, the Moon Empress was willing to listen to him. When she thought about the golden lotus brocade stalks that Lin Yuan had given her, the Moon Empress felt that Lin Yuan was not lying. The Moon Empress immediately asked Cold Moon, who had just returned to the inner palace, to prepare the spirit-containing peony for Lin Yuan. Then she said to Lin Yuan, "Little Yuan, the breeding room next to my breeding room is for you. If you want to nurture phase in the Radiant Moon Palace, just go to that breeding room. Apart from your breeding room, no one else will be able to enter." In a short while, Cold Moon returned to the Radiant Moon Palace with the spirit-containing peony. Lin Yuan saw that Cold Moon Empress was holding a large handful of golden and red peonies. There were at least 8 or 9 of them. The roots of these spirit-containing peonies were still covered in soil. From the color of the soil, Lin Yuan could tell that the soil was completely produced in the swamp world. When the Moon Empress saw Cold Moon holding the spirit-containing peonies, her eyelids twitched. The Moon Empress had always known that Cold Moon was not feminine and did not like flowers. However, Cold Moon was too majestic to be so ruthless in urging flowers. How could anyone pursue such a Cold Moon? When the Moon Empress saw that Lin Yuan was also looking at the spirit-containing peonies in Cold Moon's hands, she explained to him, "These spirit-containing peonies are a special fey that I used a high concentration of spirit chi and swamp soil to induce evolution and mutation. Using these spirit-containing peonies to store pure spirit chi can indeed prevent the pure spirit chi from leaking out." What Lin Yuan valued was the spirit-containing peonies' ability. The spirit-containing peonies could absorb the outside environment's spirit chi and store it in the flower. When the spirit-containing peonies' flower was filled with pure spirit chi, the bowl-sized flower would shrink into a flower bud that was half the size of a fist. When the spirit chi in the flower bud was exhausted, the flower bud would once again bloom into a bowl-sized flower. It could be said to be very magical. What he needed to do was to let the soul paper peony absorb the pure spirit chi in the spirit lock spatial zone and let each soul paper peony blossom 5 to 6 golden red flowers into flower buds. At that time, his master, the Moon Empress, would be able to freely use the pure spirit chi in the nightmare spirit peony's flower bud. She wouldn't need to crush it and use it up like spirit chi crystals. When he arrived at the breeding room that the Moon Empress had specially built for him in the Radiant Moon Palace, he was immediately stunned by everything inside. It could be said that the incubation room that the Moon Empress had built for herself was exactly the same as the Moon Empress' original incubation room. The tools in the breeding room were almost identical as well. After closing the door to the breeding room, he took a deep breath and entered the spirit lock spatial zone with the 10 nightmare spirit peonies he had received from Cold Moon. After entering the spirit lock spatial zone, Lin Yuan immediately dealt with the 10 soul battle peonies that Cold Moon had uprooted. These nightmare spirit peonies all had some swamp soil on them. If he planted these nightmare spirit peonies on the pure land of bliss, the swamp soil would definitely contaminate the pure land of bliss pure white sand. However, he couldn't not plant them on the pure land of bliss either. Roots were abnormally important for plant phase. If he didn't plant them on the pure land of bliss and let these nightmare spirit peonies' broken roots recover, it would definitely affect the state of the nightmare spirit peonies' flowers. This would cause each golden red peony to absorb less spirit chi. When Lin Yuan dealt with the swamp soil on the 10 nightmare spirit peonies' roots, the nightmare spirit peonies had already started to absorb the pure spirit chi in the spirit lock spatial zone. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan revealed a smile. Each nightmare spirit peony could only absorb a limited amount of pure spirit chi and couldn't replace the spirit chi crystals that contained a massive amount of pure spirit chi. However, the nightmare spirit peonies were an excellent way for Lin Yuan to bring the pure spirit chi in the spirit lock spatial zone to the outside world. After meticulously dealing with the swamp soil on the nightmare spirit peonies' roots, Lin Yuan planted the 10 nightmare spirit peonies side by side on the pure land of bliss. The nightmare spirit peonies that were planted on the pure land of bliss quickly recovered their health. As their bodies swayed, they stored the pure spirit chi in the spirit lock spatial zone into the flowers. After watching for a few minutes, Lin Yuan realized that the speed at which the nightmare spirit peonies stored pure spirit chi wasn't as fast as he had imagined. After a few minutes, the bowl-sized peonies only showed signs of shrinking. Lin Yuan didn't bother about the nightmare spirit peonies and let them slowly absorb the pure spirit chi in the spirit lock spatial zone. Upon seeing that Genius was using the interconnection tales to teach the 500 questions beasts about creation master knowledge, Lin Yuan walked forward and rubbed Genius' little head. Genius, let me use the spirit chi crystals to increase your grade. When the time comes, you'll be able to teach these 100 questions beasts more easily. After the previous evolution, Genius had 3 bronze tails, one more tail when it became a fantasy breed, and another tail when it reached silver. Now the silver eye/fantasy eye Genius already had 5 tails. Lin Yuan felt that as Genius's grade continued to increase, the number of tails would increase as well. The increase in the number of tails allowed Genius' exclusive skill, the interconnection tails, to increase the number of targets it could connect to. This was also the same as increasing the efficiency of Genius' exclusive skill, the interconnection tails. When Genius heard Lin Yuan's words, it let out a delighted meow. Lin Yuan, now that Genius's grade has increased, Genius will be able to help Lin Yuan even more. Genius wants to help Lin Yuan even more. Upon hearing Genius's words, Lin Yuan carried Genius up. Lin Yuan thought to himself while rubbing Genius's furry tail. Genius, this little fellow is always so considerate. Chimey was currently live-streaming on Star Web, and Lin Yuan didn't disturb it while watching it. Gray, which had been locked up in the spirit lock spatial zone, immediately came over when it saw Lin Yuan. Following closely behind Gray was the wind speed rapid antelope, which had been upgraded to legend after consuming the wind-type heavenly maiden grade elemental pearls. When Lin Yuan saw Gray flying to his side, he felt a headache. Lin Yuan's headache wasn't because Gray was clingy, but because Gray couldn't enter the main world to absorb the natural weather. Although there were weather changes in the dimensional world, Lin Yuan didn't feel at ease letting Gray out even in the main world. It was even more impossible to let Gray out in the dimensional world and let it wantonly absorb the weather in the dimensional world. Lin Yuan's foundation was almost all in the main world, and his master, the Moon Empress, was also in the royal capital. If there was really a problem because of Gray's identity as the favored spirit with his master around, there was always a possibility of calming things down. However, if Gray absorbed the weather in the swamp world and caused the weather changes in the swamp world to attract powerful apostles, all of Lin Yuan's arrangements in the swamp world would be destroyed. End of this chapter. Chapter 1088. Therefore, how to increase Gray's strength had become Lin Yuan's current problem. As for the wind speed rapid antelope, it should be about to welcome a fortuitous opportunity. Lin Yuan looked at the wind speed rapid antelope's new green fur and khaki fur that was about to fade. He knew that the wind speed rapid antelope's bloodline would evolve soon. Lin Yuan played with Gray for 3 to 5 minutes and continued to feed the wind speed rapid antelope a wind elemental pearl. Lin Yuan squatted on the ground and counted the spirit chi crystals he had obtained from the Karma Gladiolus and the World Grace of the Water Lotus. After counting, Lin Yuan realized that he had obtained a total of 840 spirit chi crystals this time. This made Lin Yuan abnormally happy, and he felt a sense of security from having a massive amount of resources. The spirit chi crystals in Lin Yuan's hands were different from before. 1 spirit chi crystal was equivalent to 10 before. Previously, 19 spirit chi crystals had been needed to upgrade Silver Eye/Fantasy Eye Genius to gold. Now only 2 spirit chi crystals were needed. This time Lin Yuan took out a total of 211 spirit chi crystals. Lin Yuan calculated that these 211 spirit chi crystals were enough for Genius to upgrade to Diamond Eye/Fantasy Eye. Lin Yuan had originally planned to let Genius reach Diamond X. However, it was clearly unrealistic to use 840 spirit chi crystals to raise Genius grade to Diamond X/Fantasy Eye. Even if he used all of them, he could only upgrade Genius to Diamond 7/Fantasy Eye at most. Therefore, Lin Yuan planned to keep the remaining 519 spirit chi crystals to enhance his other phase. There was not much difference between upgrading Genius to Diamond Eye and Diamond X. Lin Yuan mainly wanted to see if genius could obtain a trace of fortuitous opportunity or use and grasp soul power through abilities. This way, genius could upgrade from a Pinnacle Class 3 Creation Master to a Pinnacle Class 4 Creation Master. It was a known fact that genius had already learned the knowledge of Class 4 Scholar, Class 4 Fey Observer, and Class 4 Spiritual Ingredient Analyst. As Lin Yuan constantly crushed the 211 Spirit Chi crystals, genius grade was also constantly increasing. This time, genius grade wasn't as painful as when it had become a fantasy breed. Everything happened naturally. The original 5 tails on genius' back kept increasing, and a 6th and a 7th tail grew out of it. Genius fur had also become softer and finer. The biggest change was in genius eyes. Genius's original eyes were azure blue, and they looked like blue tourmalines that could be seen into the depths of the world. However, genius, which was constantly advancing, had the aura of a king surging in its eyes. The originally blue tourmaline eyes were also filled with a layer of glass-like substance. This layer of material faintly emitted the power of souls. When Lin Yuan sensed the soul spirit power emitting from genius, he had a delighted expression as he crushed the last spirit chi crystal. When Lin Yuan crushed the last spirit chi crystal, the 8th white tail grew out from genius' back. Lin Yuan did not know how to describe genius, which had reached Diamond Eye/Fantasy Eye for a moment. It was clearly a small beast that was only the size of 2 palms, but it had 8 fluffy and elegant long tails that were almost twice as long as its body. Not only did the 8 long tails on the 2 palm-sized little beasts not look bloated, but it also gave off a kind of otherworldly aura. Each long tail was like white silk that was dancing in the wind, and it was even smoother and elegant than white silk. While Lin Yuan was still in a daze, genius had already pounced into Lin Yuan's embrace and spoke in a childish voice. Lin Yuan, genius can now do things that only Class 4 Creation Masters can do. But Lin Yuan can do these things that only Class 4 Creation Masters can do. Genius should do things that a Class 3 Creation Master can do. Genius can now use its soul spirit power to concoct Class 3 spirit liquids much faster than before. After speaking to Lin Yuan, genius meowed and called the 50-100 questions beasts in the spirit lock spatial zone over. Genius then walked in front of each 100 questions beast and shot out a spiritual energy thread from its eyes, injecting it into each 100 questions beast's body. It was as though genius had placed its mark on each 100 questions beast, and each 100 questions beast had become genius possession. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan used Morbius True Data to check on genius. Fey name: Internet of All Things Beast, Fey Species, Spirit Cat Species/Smart Cat Species, Fey Grade, Diamond 1/10. Fey Type: Spiritual/Soul, Fey Quality. Fantasy Eye Abilities: Frowny Face, Precise Memory. When memorizing something, it is able to accurately remember every detail. Knowledge Analysis: Able to conduct a multifaceted analysis of the memorized knowledge. Based on the details of the knowledge, it will be able to make the most conjecture according to the knowledge. Spiritual Expansion: Uses the host's spiritual energy as the contractor's spiritual energy reserve. The contractor might not be able to casually use the spiritual expansion to increase the spiritual energy reserve, but when the host receives spiritual damage, the host can use the spiritual expansion's spiritual energy to resist. Smart Cat Spirit: The pioneer life form of the smart cat species that created the glory of the smart cat species. Able to use spiritual energy to form a contract with other smart cat species life forms to control the life and death of the smart cat species phase. It will also be able to share the smart cat species' spiritual energy. Spirit Substitution: Through the interaction between different spiritual energy, it will cause a change in spiritual energy. It will consume spiritual energy to convert spiritual energy into soul spirit power. Spirit Tail Stimulation: When using soul spirit power, it can consume a tail to double the original soul spirit power. Without a tail, the spirit tail stimulation will not be able to be used. Exclusive Trait: Frowny Face Tool Transformation: Able to turn into a tool for the contractor to use. Connected Tail: Link life forms according to the number of tails. The linked life forms will be able to share thoughts and have a telepathic connection. At a glance, Lin Yuan realized that genius, which had reached Diamond Eye/Fantasy Eye, was no longer a pure spiritual type. It had become a spiritual soul dual-type fae. It also meant that Lin Yuan didn't need to worry about the problem that he had been thinking about previously. Genius had solved it perfectly during its evolution process. At the same time, Lin Yuan also knew what was going on with Genius's behavior in front of every 100 questions beast. Genius had used its gold ability, Smart Cat Spirit, to form a contract with the other 100 questions beasts. Genius used its spiritual energy to form a contract with the other 100 questions beasts to control their life and death. At the same time, it unilaterally shared the other 100 questions beasts' spiritual energy. When Lin Yuan saw the Smart Cat Spirit's introduction under true data, he blinked. End of this chapter. Chapter 1089. The Pioneer of the Intelligent Cat Genus. The Glory of the Intelligent Cat Genus. There were many species of spirit cats, but there was only one species of intelligent cats. It was the 100 Questions Beast. The 100 Questions Beast had never evolved before. Could be said that Genius was the first 100 Questions Beast to evolve into a fae. It was not impossible to say that Genius was the pioneer of the intelligent cat family, and it had created the glory of the intelligent cat family. Could the Smart Cat Spirit ability be related to Genius being the first 100 Questions Beast to evolve into a fae? However, Lin Yuan could only guess about this and had no way to verify it. As a sound bird, Chimey had been the pioneer of the sound bird bloodline all the way until now. However, it wasn't as if sound birds had never evolved before. The songstress bird had evolved from sound birds. Hence, Chimey's situation was different from Genius. Since it was a problem that could not be verified, Lin Yuan did not want to waste time to look into it. He turned around and continued to check on Genius Platinum's skill Soul Replacement. It seemed like Genius had used its Platinum skill Soul Replacement to convert its mental strength into soul power. According to the skill introduction of the Platinum skill, Spirit Replacement, Genius had to rely on the interaction between different mental powers to convert mental power into soul power. Genius skill, the Intelligent Cat Spirit, could unilaterally share the mental power of other 100 Questions Beasts. This also meant that the more 100 Questions Beasts that Genius contracted with the Smart Cat Spirit, the stronger Genius soul power would be. It seemed like he would have to purchase another batch of 100 Questions Beasts for Genius to form a contract with. It wasn't that Lin Yuan hadn't thought about the 100 Questions Beast's loyalty. His evolution of the 100 Questions Beast had allowed the 100 Questions Beast to obtain the abilities of a creation master. It was definitely a shocking matter. If this was leaked, it would definitely cause a revolution in the origin world. This was not what Lin Yuan wanted to see. However, Lin Yuan also had a solution for the 100 Questions Beast's loyalty. It was to keep the 100 Questions Beasts in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. However, now that Genius had used its ability Smart Cat Spirit to form a contract with these 100 Questions Beasts, Lin Yuan would never have to worry about the 100 Questions Beast's loyalty. When he saw Genius Diamond ability Spirit Tail, he frowned slightly. Genius Diamond level skill Spirit Tail stimulation was a method to increase soul power. It was just that this kind of amplification effect required one to be smart enough to use their tails as the price behind it. When Genius had evolved from the 1000 Questions Beast to the Internet of Everything Beast, he had personally witnessed the pain Genius had suffered when its tail had been severed. If possible, he would never want Genius to use its Diamond Spirit Tail stimulation. Furthermore, before Genius became a Class 5 Creation Master, Lin Yuan didn't need Genius to do anything that a Class 4 Creation Master had to do. It wasn't easy for Genius to become a Class 5 Creation Master. In order to become a Class 5 Creation Master, one couldn't simply grasp knowledge. To be smart, one needed to carve out a path of their own. It did not take long for Lin Yuan to upgrade Genius to Diamond Eye/Fantasy Eye. Seeing that there were still over 10 minutes left, Lin Yuan started to seriously consider which fae he should enhance next. In fact, there weren't many faes that Lin Yuan could use Spirit Chi crystals to increase their grade and quality. Genius was done with its advancement. What was left was Chimey, Jasmine Lily, Little Black, Purple Firmament, Source Sand, and the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee. As for the Ethereal Jellyfish, he couldn't continue to upgrade it even if he wanted to. The Ethereal Jellyfish was now at Diamond X/Legend, and it only needed to comprehend the Willpower Rune to successfully become a fantasy breed. At the thought of the Ethereal Jellyfish, Lin Yuan immediately thought of the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee, which was similar to the Ethereal Jellyfish. After eating the last 2 source seeds, Red Thorn had been metamorphosing for a period of time. However, after such a long time, Red Thorn's metamorphosis had yet to be completed, causing the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee to be in low spirits. Lin Yuan immediately summoned the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee. When the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee heard Lin Yuan calling for it, it forcefully perked up. However, even when it was in front of Lin Yuan, the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee's eyes were still fixed in Red Thorn's direction. It was as though it was expecting Red Thorn to suddenly wake up. Upon seeing the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee's dejected appearance, Lin Yuan said, "Acid Corrosion Queen Bee, Red Thorn is evolving. Acid Corrosion Queen Bee, Red Thorn's evolution is a good thing. Do you have to be so sad? After Red Thorn wakes up, the house you live in can also become bigger." Lin Yuan still remembered that Red Thorn had issued 4 evolution requests to him before falling asleep. Finally, after some consideration, he had chosen to let Red Thorn evolve its digestive and devouring abilities. The organ that dominated Red Thorn's digestive and devouring abilities was the mouth of Relinquish. This meant that after the evolution, Red Thorn's mouth of Relinquish was destined to change more than before. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee was still listless. It did not care whether its house would become bigger or not. It just blindly hoped that Red Thorn could wake up soon. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan could not help but sigh. There must be true love between the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee and Red Thorn. The Acid Corrosion Queen Bee's grade had already been upgraded to Platinum I. Now that there were extra Spirit Chi crystals, Lin Yuan planned to upgrade the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee to Diamond X/Legend. This way, the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee could also comprehend its own willpower rune from the world like the ethereal jellyfish and become a fantasy breed. Since the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee was not a fantasy breed Fae, the Spirit Chi crystals that Lin Yuan needed to upgrade its grade were 10 times less than that of other fantasy breed Faes of the same grade. In order to upgrade the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee to Diamond X, Lin Yuan needed to consume 109 Spirit Chi crystals. After Lin Yuan crushed the 109 Spirit Chi crystals, the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee's grade rapidly increased. During the upgrade, the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee's appearance underwent a drastic change. The Diamond Acid Corrosion Queen Bee's abdomen was still abnormally swollen like before. At a glance, it was a female bee that could give birth. However, the other parts of the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee had become full of edges, and the 2 stingers at the front had become the shape of a Mitsubishi thorn. When attacking a target, the triangular spikes could perfectly pierce through the target. The 2 stingers at the back of the tail had also shortened from the original slender needles to a relatively thick state. The 2 shortened stingers were convenient for the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee to stab the target when it twisted its swollen body. At the same time, the distance between the 2 shortened stingers became shorter so that when the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee stabbed the target with 1 stinger, the other stinger would follow at the same time. The Acid Corrosion Queen Bee's body was originally dark red with many green metal spots, which was very conspicuous. Now that it had reached Diamond, it was unknown if it was to match the color of the Red Thorn sea of flowers, but its entire body had turned grayish-green. End of this chapter. Chapter 1090. It could be said that the Diamond Acid Corrosion Queen Bee's color had become much simpler. Under the cover of Red Thorn's carnivorous vines, the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee could be called an excellent hidden killer. He used Morbius True Data to check the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee's exclusive skill. Fae name: Acid Corrosion Queen Bee Fae species, Wasp/Hornet species, Fae grade. Diamond 10 out of 10. Fae type: Source/Poison Fae quality. Legend abilities: Frowny Face Wing Concealment. Flaps its wings at a high frequency. The rapidly flapping reflective wings will cause the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee to enter a certain state of invisibility. Bone-piercing sting. The rotating sting with super hardness and impact can cause bone-piercing injuries. Parasitic pupa. The stinger on the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee's forelimb can release a rapidly incubating parasitic pupa into the target's body. Acid-swallowing larva. The Acid Corrosion Queen Bee will hatch a large number of acid-swallowing larvae when there is enough acid. As the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee's rations, the acid-swallowing larvae can quickly recover the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee's consumed energy and venom reserves. At the same time, the acid-swallowing larvae will replicate a portion of the acid corrosion queen bee's mother's genes. If the mother dies, the replicated genes will be activated, making the acid-swallowing larvae a new mother. Acid corpse bee goo consumes a large amount of acid in the body to produce an acid corpse bee goo. The acid corpse bee goo lives in a dead fey or dimensional life form and can control the dead fey or dimensional life form's movements. If the acid corpse bee goo's host fey or dimensional life form is not activated by the acid corrosion queen bee, it will turn into a chrysalis again. Bee queen's sorrow. When the queen bee dies, the 2 toxins in the queen bee's stinger will quickly take effect. The 2 toxins will fuse together to cause the queen bee's mother to self-destruct. During the self-destruction process, the queen bee's body will eject the venom formed by the 2 stingers. The venom will automatically trigger the 2-hit kill effect on the target. Exclusive skill frowny face 2-hit kill. The 2 stingers carry 2 different kinds of acid corrosion venom. If the 2 stingers hit the target at the same spot, the 2 toxins will fuse and instantly disintegrate the target's body. Upon seeing the acid corrosion queen bee's new ability, Queen Bee's sorrow, Lin Yuan could not help but slap his thigh and laugh. It could be said that among all of his fays, the one that had never met Lin Yuan's expectations was the acid corrosion queen bee. The acid corrosion queen bee's lethality mainly came from its exclusive skill 2-hit kill. However, it was too difficult to use the 2-strike sure kill skill to hit the same part of the enemy with 2 stingers. As his strength increased, the enemies he encountered were getting stronger, and the enemy phase intelligence was also getting higher. Therefore, the enemy phase would rely on their consciousness to avoid the 2 stingers on the acid corrosion queen bee's tail. However, the acid corrosion queen bee's new diamond skill, Queen Bee's sorrow, solved the problem of the acid corrosion queen bee's 2-hit kill. At the same time, the acid corrosion queen bee's other skills were linked. The queen bee's sorrow allowed the acid corrosion queen bee to rely on self-destruct to kill its target with a second hit. The acid corrosion queen bee's previous gold rank skill, acid devouring larva, allowed the acid corrosion queen bee to revive using the genes replicated in the acid devouring larva. After reviving, the acid corrosion queen bee could continue to use the queen bee's sorrow to attack the target. The parasitic wasp pupae and acid devouring larva could restore the acid corrosion queen bee's energy consumption and venom reserves. Such an acid corrosion queen bee could be called a nightmare for any fey lost in the sea of flowers. As for the acid corrosion queen bee's acid corpse bee goo, Lin Yuan was originally prepared to spend a lot of resources to bid for some powerful abyss-dimensional lifeforms' corpses in the rare lifeform pavilion. He would let the acid corrosion queen bee occupy the dead abyss demon's corpse through the acid corpse bee goo and control the abyssal demon's body as its puppet to fight. After all, among all the dimensional lifeforms, the abyssal demon's individual combat ability was the strongest among the same grade. However, the Class 6 Abyss Dimensional Rift dispelled Lin Yuan's idea. The faction created by Lin Yuan, Zhong Zhe, Gulang Long Tao, Gao Feng, and the others would explore the Abyss world. Since Lin Yuan had provided the faction with high-class creation master resources, he had the priority to choose the Abyss world's spoils of war. At that time, Lin Yuan could choose the best Abyss demon's body as the acid corpse bee goo's host. Therefore, Lin Yuan did not need to be anxious about the acid corrosion queen bee goo's ability. As Lin Yuan upgraded Genius to Diamond I/Fantasy I and the acid corrosion queen bee to Diamond X/Legend, he only had 510 spirit chi crystals left. At present, Lin Yuan only had 510 spirit chi crystals left. Such a number of spirit chi crystals was enough for Lin Yuan to continue upgrading his other phase. Lin Yuan looked at the time and realized that it had been almost half an hour since he entered the Spirit Lock spatial zone. At this time, Lin Yuan obviously did not have enough time to use spirit chi crystals to upgrade other phase. Therefore, Lin Yuan gave up on the idea of upgrading the Source Sands grade. Lin Yuan suddenly thought of the strange plant life form that had almost parasitized his body and been suppressed by Morbius at the price of sleeping. Lin Yuan took the strange plant lifeform's seed out of the amber button-shaped diamond face storage box. Before Lin Yuan could take a closer look at what was so special about this seed, the slumbering red thorn suddenly reacted. Through the bloodline connected to red thorn, Lin Yuan could feel red thorn's almost crazy desire for this strange plant seed in his hand. This desire was even stronger than when Red Thorn had devoured the 2 source seeds previously. This made Lin Yuan feel rather surprised. Lin Yuan could not do anything when he sensed Red Thorn's incessant desire for the strange plant seed. In any case, Lin Yuan could not find out the use of this strange plant seed, so he simply fed it to the evolving Red Thorn. After Red Thorn devoured this strange plant seed, its original desire immediately calmed down. After sensing Red Thorn's situation, Lin Yuan revealed a smile. This strange plant seed's devouring reduced Red Thorn's originally long evolution time. It also allowed Red Thorn to mutate in an unknown direction through the strange plant seed. Of course, this kind of mutation was on the premise of ensuring Red Thorn's original evolution direction and function. To put it bluntly, this kind of mutation was equivalent to giving Red Thorn an additional ability. With the greatly reduced evolution time, Red Thorn would be able to complete its evolution by tomorrow night. At that time, Lin Yuan would also be able to see how Red Thorn would evolve after absorbing the 2 source seeds in the strange plant seed. End of this chapter. Chapter 1091. After sensing Red Thorn's situation, Lin Yuan did not immediately check on the 10 spirit roasted peonies planted on the Pure Land of Bliss. Instead, he went to astrologer Zhi Tan and prepared to collect its pollen for the second time. Just as Lin Yuan was collecting the pollen into the brocade box, Gray, who was playing with the wind-speed rapid antelope, passed by Lin Yuan. It sprinkled some of astrologer Zhi Tan's pollen on Lin Yuan. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan hurriedly closed the brocade box and used his hand to hit his body a few times. Astrologer Zhi Tan's pollen was very fine, and Lin Yuan was not infected with misfortune, so he could not smell it. Therefore, Lin Yuan did not know if he had cleaned up astrologer Zhi Tan's pollen. After collecting astrologer Zhi Tan's pollen, Lin Yuan went to the spirit-roasted peonies. Lin Yuan found that these spirit-roasted peonies' gold-sprinkled red flowers were still gently closing after half an hour. He did not know how long it would take for them to form flower buds. Lin Yuan took a spirit chi crystal and squeezed it with his fingers. The spirit chi crystal shattered. Lin Yuan hurriedly guided the huge spirit chi in this spirit chi crystal to one of the spirit-roasted peonies. Very soon, the pure spirit energy in the spirit chi crystal turned the 5 golden red flowers on the nightmare spirit peony into flower buds. After the 5 gold-sprinkled red flowers turned into flower buds, the pure spirit chi in the spirit chi crystal did not consume much. Lin Yuan estimated that it had consumed at most 1/10 of the spirit chi. After looking at the remaining spirit-roasted peonies, Lin Yuan did not choose to inject the spirit chi in the spirit chi crystal into the other 9 spirit-roasted peonies. Lin Yuan planned to give his master 1 spirit-roasted peonies first. He wanted to see if the pure spirit chi in the spirit-roasted peonies' flower buds would be helpful to the Moon Empress. Leaving these 9 spirit-roasted peonies could allow them to freely absorb the pure spirit chi in the spirit-lock spatial zone and save the consumption of spirit chi crystals. On the other hand, Lin Yuan wanted to try to cultivate the spirit-roasted peonies. This way, the pure spirit chi in the spirit-lock spatial zone could become a precious resource that could be exchanged through the spirit-roasted peonies. Lin Yuan had already thought of how to use this resource. Even if the pure spirit chi could be exchanged, Lin Yuan only planned to provide it to the Moon Empress. His master, the Moon Empress, could use the pure spirit chi to display other values and expand her status and influence among the Class 5 creation masters. He did not waste the remaining 90% of the spirit chi in the spirit chi crystal. Instead, he took out dozens of snake phase that he had collected for Wendy. Lin Yuan used the remaining 90% of the spirit chi in the spirit chi crystal to raise them to bronze. This way, these snake phase could be given to Wendy and let her use her talent, Snake Descendants Paradise, to turn them into snake hair. This way, Lin Yuan Yu Zong Yuan Dragon Zong Yuan's Dragon Fei Roasted Thorn Yuan Spirit Chi. After tidying up everything, Lin Yuan suddenly recalled that he had yet to prepare a small gift for Zong Zai. Soul of Spirit Peonies Thorn Lin Yuan's Spirit Roared Star. After peeling off a pile of Heavenly Maiden-grade elemental pearls with the Cloud Dream Lake and Fixed Bliss Life pearls, a colorful fire-type Heavenly Maiden-grade elemental pearl appeared in front of him. Lin Yuan did not expect to find another Heavenly Maiden-grade elemental pearl with the Goddess Roasted Star. After taking out the Heavenly Maiden-grade elemental pearl, he vigorously rummaged through the pile of Heavenly Maiden-grade elemental pearls. Apart from a few scattered heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls of various elements, he did not find another heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearl with the goddess roasted star. After thinking for a moment, Lin Yuan planned to give this heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearl to Zhongzhe as a small gift. The fire-type heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearl would definitely be useful to Zhongzhe. However, Lin Yuan thought that even if Zhongzhe was the Chef Supreme's disciple, he should not be willing to let his fae absorb this heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearl with the goddess roasted star. Due to the scarcity of heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls, Lin Yuan had only found 2 so far. They were both fire-type. Therefore, Lin Yuan did not intend to let such rare items flow into the market. In Lin Yuan's opinion, it was most suitable to give a friend a heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearl with the goddess roasted star as a gift. After confirming the small gift for Zhongzhe, Lin Yuan placed this fire-type heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearl into a brocade pouch woven from brocade. Then he took the black spirit peony, which had 5 golden red flowers that had turned into flower buds, and a brocade box of astrology wisdom cloud pollen, leaving the spirit lock spatial zone and returning to the breeding room. After returning to the breeding room, Lin Yuan did not stay there. Instead, he left the breeding room. Lin Yuan's breeding room was built in the Radiant Moon Palace's inner palace, just like the Moon Empress breeding room. Therefore, when Lin Yuan opened the breeding room's door, he immediately saw the Moon Empress, who was drinking tea and waiting for him in the inner palace. He also saw Cold Moon and Mystic Moon beside her. Even now, Cold Moon and Mystic Moon were looking at Lin Yuan in disbelief. This was because Cold Moon and Mystic Moon were still unable to completely digest what Lin Yuan had just said. They did not think that Lin Yuan had any means to produce spirit qi that had a higher concentration than the glass-type Emperor spirit containing jade. Even the spirit qi concocted by the Moon Empress had a lower concentration than the glass-type Emperor spirit containing jade. The Moon Empress might be a Class 5 Creation Master, but this was definitely because there were no more grades above Class 5 Creation Masters. At present, the Radiance Federation's 3 Class 5 Creation Masters, the Moon Empress, Chef Supreme and Bamboo Monarch, each had their own specialties. Among them, the Moon Empress was definitely the strongest in producing pure spirit qi, while the Bamboo Monarch was relatively weaker. However, the Bamboo Monarch was the strongest among the 3 Class 5 Creation Masters in creating artifacts. If Young Lord could produce spirit qi that was purer than the Moon Empress, wouldn't he become an existence that transcended the entire Radiance Federation? Lin Yuan walked in front of his master, the Moon Empress, and his face bloomed with a sunny smile, revealing his small white teeth. He handed the black spirit peony, which had 5 flower buds, to the Moon Empress. Master, what do you think of the black spirit peony's spirit qi concentration? The Moon Empress did not immediately take the black spirit peony from Lin Yuan's hand. Instead, she looked at Lin Yuan's sunny smile and was stunned. This smile made the Moon Empress feel as though she was in the hot summer of August. Her entire body and mind were filled with warmth and satisfaction under this smile. End of this chapter. Chapter 1092. At this moment, only the rustling of the lotus leaves in the lotus pond could be heard in the inner palace of the Radiant Moon Palace. The Moon Empress felt that when Lin Yuan handed over the poison spirit peony, it was like a child who had picked up something good and was happily handing it to his parents. After being startled for a moment, the Moon Empress involuntarily revealed the same smile on Lin Yuan's face. However, when the Moon Empress took the spirit paper peony from Lin Yuan's hand and activated the flower bud to let it release spirit qi, the Moon Empress' eyes widened. The Moon Empress immediately revealed a horrified expression that she had not seen for decades. The Moon Empress' other hand suddenly clenched tightly. The change in the Moon Empress' aura immediately attracted Cold Moon and Black Moon's attention. When Cold Moon and Mystic Moon saw the Moon Empress' expression, they looked at Lin Yuan as though they were looking at a monster. Based on the Moon Empress' expression, Cold Moon and Mystic Moon knew that the spirit qi that Lin Yuan had concocted was indeed superior to the glass-type Emperor spirit containing jade. The Moon Empress, who had a shocked expression on her face, suddenly had a rather strange feeling. Thinking back to the time when he had the idea of accepting a disciple, he had set a threshold. Lin Yuan was the only one who met the requirements and became a Class 2 Creation Master during his first Creation Master exam. After understanding Lin Yuan's background and character, the Moon Empress treated him as her disciple and loved him. Back then, the Moon Empress still remembered that Lin Yuan had said that the most important thing between a master and disciple was the relationship. Lin Yuan's words touched the Moon Empress and made her recall the old thing who had taught her. As they continued to interact, the relationship between the Moon Empress and Lin Yuan deepened. Even though they weren't related by blood, the bond that was passed down from generation to generation made the two of them even closer. The Moon Empress had always wanted to be a good master to pave the way for Lin Yuan and to give the best to him. Let Lin Yuan have a happy life. He didn't expect his disciple to help him so much in the end. Not long ago, the Moon Empress had just broken through that boundary, and that breakthrough could be said to be a narrow escape from death. After breaking through that boundary, even with the Moon Empress temperament, she didn't dare to take another step forward. However, with such pure spirit qi, the Moon Empress immediately saw hope that she could improve further. This hope did not require the Moon Empress to bear any risk. However, if he wanted the Moon Empress to progress further, the spirit qi in the refined spirit peony was obviously insufficient. At the same time, the Moon Empress had also contracted many phases, and several of them had extremely intense reactions to pure spirit qi. Even if the Moon Empress didn't use the pure spirit qi to evolve, she could just give it to the phase that had a huge reaction to the pure spirit qi. It could also allow his phase genetic model to evolve again and improve their strength. The Moon Empress felt that her strength would increase by at least 30%. At that moment, the little rabbit who hid its carrot when it saw Lin Yuan, scuttled onto the table and used its nose to sniff the spirit-holding peony's bud. At that moment, the little rabbit's gaze toward Lin Yuan wasn't as aggrieved as before. Zixi felt that this guy who had eaten half of his carrot was no longer a nuisance but a good person. Lin Yuan did not know that the Rabbit Emperor's good guy card had been attached to him. The Moon Empress' heart stirred as she looked at Zixi, who was smelling the spirit peony's bud. He had broken through to that realm before Zixi, but Zixi had been stuck at the same spot, unable to advance. With such pure spirit qi, Zixi should no longer be stuck at the same spot. However, for Zixi to rely on pure spirit qi to safely reach that realm, the pure spirit qi in these 5 flower buds was definitely not enough. There was a lot of pure spirit energy in the 5 flower buds of the Nightmare Spirit Peony. The pure spirit energy in each flower bud was comparable to the glass-type Emperor spirit containing jade in the brocade box. However, the Moon Empress really couldn't open her mouth to ask for pure spirit qi from her disciple. At that moment, the Moon Empress heard Lin Yuan's voice. "Master, this is only the first stalk of Soul Hermetic Peony. In the future, I will give you more Soul Hermetic Peonies that have absorbed pure spiritual energy. As for the remaining 9 stalks of Nightmare Peony, I will divide them into cuttings. After that, I will provide you with 20 stalks of Nightmare Peony with 5 flower buds every week. At that time, whether you use these Nightmare Spirit Peony for yourself or use them like pollen, it's all up to you." When the Moon Empress heard Lin Yuan's words, she looked shocked again. The Moon Empress felt that in this short hour, she was more shocked than she had been in the past 10 years. This meant that she would be able to obtain 100 Nightmare Spirit Peony flower buds every week. If he had so much pure spirit qi, then he wouldn't need to think about how to conserve it. She would just use it directly. In a few months, the pure spirit qi would be enough for her to take a big step forward. It would also allow Zixi and her other phase to undergo a complete transformation. The Moon Empress felt that Lin Yuan had given her a fated opportunity today. This fated opportunity would allow her to reduce her hard work by at least 30 years. The feeling of being given resources by her disciple was very wonderful and also very warm to the Moon Empress. It suddenly gave the Moon Empress a feeling that she could also rely on someone. When this feeling appeared, the Moon Empress felt a little helpless. Even someone as powerful as the Moon Empress couldn't quickly calm down this feeling that appeared for the first time in her life. At the same time, the Moon Empress also understood what Lin Yuan meant by, "use it like pollen." She wasn't the only one who needed pure spirit qi. He was a Class 5 creation master and could concoct pure spirit qi on his own. Those old fellows who weren't creation masters wouldn't be able to do it. Only God knew how desperate those old guys were for pure spiritual energy. The pure spirit qi that Lin Yuan had provided to him was simply too important. After Lin Yuan finished speaking, he handed a brocade box of astrologer Zhi Tan's pollen to the Moon Empress. Master, the second wave of pollen has matured. With 4 or 5 more boxes of pollen, Wang Fuxiang's bad luck will be completely dispelled. The Moon Empress nodded in response. This time he had brought astrologer Zhi Tan's pollen over, and the bamboo monarch had completely regarded him as a benefactor. He didn't even know how to thank himself. It could be said that a portion of astrologer Zhi Tan's pollen had been exchanged for a huge favor from bamboo monarch. In order to return the favor, the bamboo monarch did not hesitate to take out a treasure like the golden silk emperor bamboo. However, as the second and third boxes of astrologer Zhi Tan's pollen were delivered to the purple bamboo garden, Zhi Tan's pollen was sent to the purple bamboo garden. The bamboo monarch owed him a favor and he would never be able to repay it. A favor from an eminence, especially a Class 5 creation master, was hard to come by. As a fellow eminence and a Class 5 creation master, the Moon Empress was naturally very clear about this. End of this chapter. Chapter 1093. Soon, the Moon Empress regained her composure from the shock of the pure spirit qi. After calming down, the Moon Empress pondered for a moment and knew that Lin Yuan wasn't able to concoct such pure spirit qi because he was a Class 5 creation master. If he wanted to become a Class 5 creation master, he would need to carve out a path that belonged to him. This path was definitely not going to be easy. Lin Yuan must be relying on a sacred source life form or a certain fei to be able to produce such pure spirit qi. This was her disciple's trump card, and the Moon Empress would not inquire too much about it. In the Moon Empress' opinion, with this trump card, Lin Yuan would be able to take over her position once he matured. When that time came, he would be able to enjoy his retirement in the glorious land like the previous 13 majesties. When the Moon Empress saw Lin Yuan standing in front of her, she once again felt that she was somewhat unqualified as a master. The Moon Empress had been closely observing Lin Yuan's footsteps, but it turned out that her observation was not meticulous enough. Unknowingly, his disciple had already gone further than he had imagined. The Moon Empress stood up and gently held Lin Yuan's hand before pulling him toward her breeding room. The Moon Empress was going to have a question-and-answer session with him before he went for lunch. He wanted to see if Lin Yuan had any knowledge that he wanted to grasp or questions that he did not understand. When they reached the breeding room, the Moon Empress recalled that the Abyss world was about to be revealed to the public. Disciple, do you have any preparations for the exploration of the Abyss world? Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan did not hide anything. He immediately formed a faction with Zhongzhe, Gulang, Li Xian, Long Tao, Sun Ningxiang, Gaofeng, Lu Jia and the others. He told his master, the Moon Empress, that he was preparing to explore the Abyss world. When the Moon Empress heard that it was Long Tao's idea and that she had instigated it, she was stunned. She could not help but discover Lin Yuan's interpersonal skills and leadership skills, which he had never shown in front of her. In the Moon Empress' opinion, interpersonal skills and leadership skills were essential qualities for a Radiance envoy. She didn't need to teach Lin Yuan these two qualities as he had already grasped them. Moreover, Lin Yuan, Gulang, Zhongzhe, Lu Jia and Gaofeng were all disciples of Her Holiness. They were all popular candidates for the Radiance envoy position. Even Long Tao might become a member of the Radiant Light Knights. These people had banded together in advance. With common interests, they would definitely be able to support each other in the assessment. This was a good thing for the Moon Empress. Upon seeing that Lin Yuan already had ideas about the exploration of the Abyss and had put them into practice, the Moon Empress did not talk to him about the Abyss anymore. The exploration of the Abyss world was still in its initial stages. Lin Yuan would learn some secrets during his exploration of the Abyss, so there was no need to tell him now. Thinking that Lin Yuan was about to explore the dangerous Abyss, the Moon Empress' hand trembled. A cage made of dark purple metal that was 1 cubic meter in size appeared on the floor of the breeding room. A shadow was trapped in the iron cage. The shadow was struggling and roaring in the cage. However, when Shadow saw the Moon Empress, he immediately curled up in a corner of the cage while shivering. He was like a pitiful wretch who had been tortured countless times in fear. Upon sensing the faint aura of life in the shadow, Lin Yuan immediately used Morbius True Data to investigate the shadow in the cage. Upon seeing Lin Yuan looking at the dark purple metal cage, the Moon Empress said, "That's right. This is a level 11 8 tribulation dimensional creature, Void Shadow Fiend." Just as the Moon Empress was explaining to Lin Yuan, Lin Yuan found out about the Void Shadow Fiend's true data. Alien beast name: Void Shadow Fiend. Life form: Dimensional life form, alien beast grade. Level 11 8 Tribulation talent specialty frowny face fleeing shadow / slaughter shadow. Usually, it can hide its body in the shadow of something. After entering the fleeing shadow state, only targets that are 2 life forms higher than it can sense it. During the attack it can attack other targets' shadows. The targets can be defined as living individuals and inanimate individuals. After the target's shadow is attacked, the injuries will be fed back to the main body. Upon seeing the Void Shadow Fiend's true data, Lin Yuan's pupils constricted. This was because Lin Yuan had never imagined that the one imprisoned in this iron cage was actually a rank 11, 8 Tribulation abyssal demon. According to the original classification method for dimensional life forms, a level 11 8 Tribulation dimensional creature should be classified as level 18. However, such a classification method was too complicated, and it was inconvenient to measure the combat power between dimensional life forms and phase. As a result, dimensional life forms that were equivalent to creation breed phase were all defined as level 11. However, in order to deal with the creation breed phase 8 tribulations, the strength of dimensional life forms was also divided according to the stages of the 8 tribulations. The Void Shadow Fiend in front of him, which was hidden in the shadows, was a dimensional life form that was comparable to a Monarch Class 10 creation breed 8th Tribulation Fae. In fact, it was common knowledge that demon dimensional life forms were often stronger than dimensional life forms of the same grade. The Void Shadow Fiend in front of him was likely to be stronger than ordinary Pinnacle Emperor class phase. The water-drinking venom snake vulture that Lin Yuan had encountered previously was a level 11 Tribulation dimensional life form. However, unlike this Void Shadow Fiend, the water-drinking venom snake vulture was a blessings believer. However, this level 11 8 Tribulation Void Shadow Fiend was just an ordinary dimensional life form. This Void Shadow Fiend was a top-notch assassin or bodyguard due to its talent, fleeing shadow / slaughter shadow. It could hide in the target's shadow to protect the target or assassinate the enemy through the enemy's shadow at any time. After explaining to Lin Yuan what the thing in the cage was, the Moon Empress looked at the Void Shadow Fiend and said, "Void Shadow Fiend, this Empress originally planned to use you as a material to concoct a kind of spirit fluid. Now this Empress will give you a chance to live. Use your soul as a cardboard and use your faith as ink to write an oath of allegiance to this Empress disciple. Be this Empress disciple's servant. Only by becoming this Empress disciple's servant and obeying this Empress disciple's orders can you live." When the Moon Empress' cold tone entered the Void Shadow Fiend's ears, the shadow shrouding the Void Shadow Fiend trembled. Lin Yuan did not know what his master had done to the Void Shadow Fiend before. However, it was clear that the Void Shadow Fiend was filled with fear. This made Lin Yuan's heart involuntarily have a trace of doubt. Weren't abyssal demons always fearless? Moreover, the Void Shadow Fiend was a level 11, 8 Tribulation high-ranking demon. Chapter 1094. The Class 11, 8th Disaster Dimensional Life Form, Void Shadow Devil, feared the Moon Empress from the bottom of its heart. However, the Void Shadow Devil, which was trembling in the shadows, emitted a vicious aura. In the eyes of ordinary people, when a dimensional life form was accepted as a believer by an apostle, it was a sign of losing its freedom. However, to dimensional life forms, becoming an apostle's believer was a lifelong goal. If they were fortunate enough to be transformed by the apostle's totem power into a believer, it would be an unparalleled honor for dimensional life forms. Regardless of becoming a believer or being transformed into a believer, they would need to contribute their power of faith to the apostle. If the Void Shadow Devil used its soul as a cardboard and used its faith as ink to write an oath of allegiance to Lin Yuan, with its faith, the Void Shadow Devil would no longer be able to become a believer of another apostle. Not to mention being transformed into a believer by another apostle using totem power. Under such circumstances, the Void Shadow Devil, which was much more intelligent than ordinary people, resisted the fear in its heart and wanted to resist. The vicious aura rising from the Void Shadow Devil's body penetrated the dark purple iron cage, and Lin Yuan felt a familiar aura. This aura was similar to Mystic Moon's aura and the aura from the strange plant seed that Red Thorn had absorbed. However, the Void Shadow Devil's aura was much fainter and only had a trace of it. In comparison, Lin Yuan was sure that this aura was an aura that only a fae above the creation breed could possess. Lin Yuan's pupils shrank at the thought of this. This meant that the whale ocean trade possessed power above the creation breed. Just as the Void Shadow Devil's aura was getting stronger and stronger, and Lin Yuan felt the pressure, a soft snort echoed. After the snort echoed, Lin Yuan wasn't affected at all. He only felt the pressure around him lighten. However, the Void Shadow Devil in the dark purple iron cage let out a mournful scream. Then the shadow in the iron cage dissipated, and Lin Yuan finally saw the Void Shadow Devil's original body. Lin Yuan saw that the Void Shadow Devil was standing on 2 feet, and its body was only slightly over a meter tall. It had a small body, grayish-purple skin and long blackish-purple fingernails on both hands. When he saw the sharpness on the fingernails, Lin Yuan felt that the fingernails could easily cut through radium-uranium steel. At this moment, the Nothingness Shadow Demon's aura, which had just risen up, had disappeared without a trace. It seemed extremely sluggish. Streams of purplish-black blood flowed out of his 7 orifices. It was obvious that he had suffered serious injuries. This was the second time Lin Yuan had seen the Moon Empress make a move. The first time Lin Yuan had seen the Moon Empress make a move was when Qing Wu had sniped her in the royal capital's outskirts. Back then his master, the Moon Empress, had only displayed Emperor-class power. However, Emperor-class combat power was simply unimaginable to Lin Yuan at that time. However, Emperor-class combat power was nothing to the current Lin Yuan. Even Lin Yuan could exchange a few blows with an ultimate Emperor realm expert with his Holy Sword mode sword skills. As Lin Yuan continued to grow, Genius was also constantly grasping more knowledge. From the Hidden Moon Pavilion's information, he knew that they had signed an agreement 10 years ago. This agreement stated that the Majesties would not use powers above the Emperor level when fighting against each other. This was probably the reason why his master, the Moon Empress, had only displayed Emperor-class combat power. Now that he had seen the Moon Empress make a move for the second time, Lin Yuan was secretly shocked. With just a snort, the Nothingness Shadow Demon, which had pinnacle Emperor-class combat power, had suffered such serious injuries. At this moment Lin Yuan was a little confused. Lin Yuan had imagined that his master, the Moon Empress, was powerful, but it was clearly not as powerful as he had imagined. At this moment Lin Yuan could only sigh in his heart. His master was too powerful. The Moon Empress looked at the Nothingness Shadow Demon with eyes full of killing intent, but her tone was still cold. This Empress gave you a chance. Since you don't know how to appreciate favors, then this Empress. Before the Moon Empress could finish speaking, the Nothingness Shadow Demon's knees went soft, and it knelt on the ground with its head lowered. Upon seeing this scene, Lin Yuan immediately felt the surge of faith power from the Nothingness Shadow Demon. Then the faith power from the Nothingness Shadow Demon was transferred to his body. Lin Yuan had a feeling that if he accepted the Nothingness Shadow Demon's faith power, the life and death of the Void Shadow Demon would be completely in his hands from now on. He could use the faith power of the Void Shadow Fiend to shatter the Void Shadow Fiend's soul that had been imprinted with faith power. Lin Yuan only hesitated for a moment before choosing to accept the Void Shadow Demon's loyalty. The Void Shadow Fiend's power of faith that Lin Yuan accepted was immediately stored in the shrine between his 2 souls. While he was hesitating when he sensed the power of faith transmitted by the Void Shadow Devil, its eyes kept flickering. This was because the Void Shadow Devil could sense Lin Yuan's control of its power of faith when it entered Lin Yuan's body for the contract. The power of faith was a power that only apostles could grasp and use in the abyss. How could this human be able to control the power of faith? Could it be that this human was an apostle? Lin Yuan and the Moon Empress naturally didn't know what the Void Shadow Demon was thinking. When the Moon Empress saw that the Void Shadow Fiend had used its faith and soul to offer its loyalty to Lin Yuan, she said to Lin Yuan, "Little Yuan, go and open this iron cage made of forbidden violet copper. With this Void Shadow Demon around, your safety will be guaranteed in the future." While speaking, the Moon Empress couldn't help but think of the path protector she had arranged for Lin Yuan. The Moon Empress had chosen the Mother of Bloodbath to be Lin Yuan's path protector because of the Mother of Bloodbath's background and its bloodline. However, the Moon Empress hadn't expected Lin Yuan to grow so quickly. Lin Yuan's rapid growth had rendered the Mother of Bloodbath, which the Moon Empress had arranged for him, useless. The Mother of Bloodbath's Emperor-class combat power was obviously not enough to protect Lin Yuan. Therefore, the Moon Empress had thought of arranging this Void Shadow Demon, which was rare in the abyss for Lin Yuan. Upon hearing the Moon Empress' words, Lin Yuan walked forward and opened the cage's door. Immediately after, Lin Yuan saw the Void Shadow Demon kneeling on the ground turn into a shadow and merge with his own shadow. Lin Yuan couldn't feel the Void Shadow Demon's existence at all. Feeling the Void Shadow Demon's powerful concealment ability, Lin Yuan suddenly had a kind of Source-type baptism on the Void Shadow Demon with the Source-type power that the Moon Empress had absorbed from the Law Source Crystal. He planned to nurture another apostle. However, the Source-type power needed to perform the Source-type baptism on the Void Shadow Demon was already different from the Source-type power needed for the Class 5 Shi Ting and Class 1 Wendy. End of this chapter. Chapter 1095. In the process of communicating with the princess, he found out that dimensional life forms from Class 1 to Class 9 needed 100 units of source power for each Class 9 to undergo the source baptism. However, when a dimensional creature reached level 10, the Law Origin Crystal in its body would transform into a World Origin Crystal. In order to undergo a source baptism, every minor rank above level 9 would require 1,000 portions of source power. In other words, if he wanted to perform the source baptism on the Void Shadow Fiend, he would need to use 9,900 units of source-type power. It was equivalent to the source-type energy absorbed by the princess from 9,900 Law's Origin crystals. Such consumption made Lin Yuan feel as though his balls were starting to ache. Perhaps 9,900 points of source energy would be enough for him to obtain a second sword skill. Lin Yuan decided to have a good talk with the Void Shadow Demon at night and carefully weigh its value before making a decision. When he thought of Mystic Moon, the formless Shadow Demon, and the strange plant seed, he felt a chill run down his spine. Lin Yuan asked his master, the Moon Empress, about the undying seed that Endless Summer had mentioned. Master, is the power above the creation seed the immortal seed? Upon hearing that, the Moon Empress nodded, not surprised that Lin Yuan knew about the immortal seed. The Moon Empress had heard from Mystic Moon that Lin Yuan had a pinnacle myth 3 plant species Fae that had survived the creation calamity and become a creation breed. Since Lin Yuan had asked about the undying seed which was above the creation seed, the Moon Empress explained it to him. When a mythical creature advances to the world of creation, the world derived from the world of creation will undergo 8 tribulations and fuse with the 8 world of creation earth veins. The world formed from a single law will then be complete. If you want to become immortal, you'll need to fuse your body with a world evolved from a single set of laws, turning your body into an immortal body. After that, you'll have a chance to reach the 9th stage of immortal. After listening to the Moon Empress' words, Lin Yuan finally understood what the immortal seed was all about. Since that strange plant life form seed had been absorbed by Red Thorn, Lin Yuan did not have a physical object to show to his master. He wanted to identify what the seed with the undying aura was. Therefore, Lin Yuan asked the Moon Empress in another way. Master, do the top powers have undying powers? Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, the Moon Empress raised her brows and pondered for a moment. Currently, on the surface, the strongest combat power of the top forces is only at the Emperor stage, but decades ago, the top 3 forces already had peak Emperor stage powerhouses. After so many years, it's not impossible for an Emperor peak ranker to become an undying ranker. Actually, it's not just the top 3. Even if the top 10 announce that they have an undying, I wouldn't be surprised. Upon hearing the Moon Empress' words, Lin Yuan secretly nodded. In that case, the Whale Ocean trading plant seeds with immortal aura was nothing to be alarmed about. Internal conflicts between forces were often the fiercest. Naturally, all means would be used. Thus, Lin Yuan did not mention the plant seeds again. After 2 hours of question and answer session with the Moon Empress, Lin Yuan was suddenly enlightened on many of the questions that he did not understand previously. His horizons had also broadened. Oftentimes, the Moon Empress would only need a few words of guidance to be able to explain things clearly. Seeing that it was about time, the Moon Empress took the initiative to stop the question and answer session. Little Yuan, it's almost time for your gathering. Don't let your friends wait too long. In addition, Little Yuan, you have the ability to concoct pure spirit qi. In that case, the golden silk emperor bamboo will not be of much use to you. When the time comes, you can decide how to use the golden silk emperor bamboo. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan hurriedly looked at the time and realized that it was already 11 o'clock. There was less than half an hour before the agreed time with Zhongzhe and the others. Lin Yuan reached out and grabbed his hair. He did not expect to actually forget the time during the question and answer session. Actually, Lin Yuan already had his own plans for the golden silk emperor bamboo. However, Lin Yuan had thought that it would not be good to casually deal with the golden silk emperor bamboo since his master had given it to him. However, with the Moon Empress words, Lin Yuan did not need to have any psychological burden when dealing with the golden silk emperor bamboo. Before leaving, Lin Yuan took out the diamond face storage box that contained information on the 7 pages of war, the Pagoda Cannon and the Dark Federation. He handed it to the Moon Empress and said, "Master, this is the information that you and I have obtained using a special method. Take a look when you have time." After saying that, Lin Yuan bid farewell to the Moon Empress and left the Leaning Moon Mountain. Through the ethereal jellyfish's ability node, he arrived at the entrance of Copper Crane Alley. After Lin Yuan left, the Moon Empress looked at the diamond face storage box in her hand and wondered what information Lin Yuan had for her. Naturally, the Moon Empress would not ignore the information that Lin Yuan had given her. The Moon Empress immediately took out a portion of the paper materials from the diamond face storage box and frowned after taking a look. The more she looked at the information that Lin Yuan had given her, the more shocked she was. The Moon Empress was not shocked that the Dark Federation had been destroyed by the 7 pages of war. In fact, she had long known what had happened in the Dark Continent. When she had found clues about the Dark Continent in the controlled Class 3 Abyss Dimensional Rift, the Imperial Court had immediately sent people to investigate the Dark Federation. It was at that time that the Imperial Court had gathered information about the Dark Federation. However, the information that the Imperial Court had was on a completely different level from the information that Lin Yuan had given her. The Imperial Court's information about the Dark Continent was only a general description of the Dark Continent's situation. However, the information that Lin Yuan had given was a summary and survey of the situation from the most core position of the Dark Seven States. It even involved some of the Dark Seven States' core secrets. Wang Hui had also spied on these secrets. It could be said that the secrets that the Imperial Court had about the Dark Seven States were completely consistent with the secrets of the Dark Seven States in this information. This was the most powerful proof of the authenticity of this information. After receiving the pure spirit qi that Lin Yuan had given her, the Moon Empress had wanted to enter seclusion to strengthen her strength first. However, it now seemed that the information on the Dark Seven States secrets was so detailed that the Moon Empress felt that it was enough to hold another Imperial Court meeting to analyze this information. At that thought, the Moon Empress' expression suddenly became strange. In the past few months, there seemed to have been 3 Imperial Court meetings. However, these 3 Imperial Court meetings had a lot to do with her precious disciple Lin Yuan. End of this chapter. Chapter 1096. After Lin Yuan arrived at Copper Crane Alley, he immediately felt the charm and texture left behind by years of polishing in Copper Crane Alley. In this early spring, the tongue flowers planted in Bronze Crane Alley were in full bloom. Outside Bronze Crane Alley there was still a winter atmosphere, but inside Bronze Crane Alley, one could see the beauty of the world. The courtyards in Bronze Crane Alley occupied 300 to 500 square meters, while the large ones occupied 800 to 900 square meters. There were almost no courtyards that occupied more than 1,000 square meters. Among the courtyards of various sizes, each courtyard was designed to form its own scenery. However, Lin Yuan did not slow down while walking in Bronze Crane Alley while admiring the surrounding scenery. Just as Lin Yuan was strolling on the streets of Bronze Crane Alley, the surrounding pedestrians could not help but look at him. Today, Lin Yuan was wearing spirit qi clothes embroidered with ginkgo leaves and inlaid with moonstones as accessories. The light yellow fabric used for the spirit qi clothes was soft, matched with ginkgo leaves and moonstones. It had a bit of the gentleness and tranquility of falling ginkgo leaves under the moonlight. However, the cut of this soft spirit qi clothes was very tough. It caused the toughness and softness to collide on the body, giving off a different sense of youth and liveliness. Wearing it on Lin Yuan, his unique temperament was even more outstanding, and it also made his already young face look even younger. This set of spirit chi clothes had not been made for long, and it had taken Wen Yu a lot of effort to design it. It was also one of the clothes used by the Pinru house. Lin Yuan, who was walking on the road, did not notice that when he walked past, a few passers-by had already picked up their cell phones to secretly take pictures of him. There was also a young lady who looked as juicy as a crab roe bun. She immediately chose to log into StarWeb and post the photos she had secretly taken in StarWeb's space. The young lady immediately edited and added a line of words above Lin Yuan's photo. I met a super handsome young man on the road. Because I'm a lady, I didn't dare to secretly take pictures of his front, so I only took pictures of his back. I took pictures of this young man not only because I wanted his body, but also because I wanted to ask which weaver designed the clothes he's wearing. Is there a brand? I want to buy one for my ex-boyfriend and ask him to get back together. Lin Yuan, who was walking, had unknowingly become a scenery in other people's eyes. As this young lady always shared some photos of handsome guys on the StarWeb space, she had a stable group of LSP fans. Lin Yuan's background photo had attracted the attention of these LSP fans in a short while. In the eyes of the ISP fans, the handsome guy in the photo belonged to someone else. But after he pasted and copied the photo, the handsome guy was his. In a short period of time, photos of Lin Yuan's back view were crazily reposted. Among them, there was no lack of LSPs who pursued spirit chi clothing. These LSPs also had a strong interest in the spirit chi clothing that Lin Yuan was wearing. After walking for almost 10 minutes, Lin Yuan looked at Zhou Xian's address on his cell phone and confirmed that he would be able to reach courtyard number 18, where Zhou Xian was. At that moment, Lin Yuan suddenly heard a familiar voice calling his name behind him. "Haha, Lin Yuan. I always thought I was the last one to arrive. Now that I've met you, it means that at least I'm not late." When Lin Yuan turned around, he saw Gao Feng holding a basket and rushing toward him. When he arrived in front of Lin Yuan, Gao Feng opened the basket in his hand like he was presenting a treasure. Lin Yuan saw 8 thumb-sized grayish-brown fish inside. These small fish looked extremely inconspicuous. At most, there were layers of dark gray heart-shaped patterns on their bodies. After seeing the heart-shaped patterns, Lin Yuan suddenly thought of something. He immediately used Morbius True Data to investigate the 8 small fishes. After the investigation, Lin Yuan could not help but exclaim, "It's actually an 8-tailed heart-sound fish." Gao Feng was a little surprised when he heard Lin Yuan's exclamation. The heart-sound fish was abnormally rare, and perhaps even some creation masters had not heard of it. Furthermore, the heart-sound fish looked ordinary and was almost no different from the wild fish in the ditch. Gao Feng did not expect Lin Yuan to recognize the heart-sound fish with just a glance. Lin Yuan's eyes were too sharp. At that moment, Gao Feng recalled Lin Yuan's performance in the civil and martial duels and felt that everything could be explained. Lin Yuan looked at Gao Feng and did not know where Gao Feng had gotten such a good thing like the heart-sound fish. The heart-sound fish was a type of fish fey that could strengthen one's spiritual force and make one's mind more resolute. It was also an ingredient. After eating the heart-sound fish, one's spirit would have a strong resistance against negative temptations. Although he had Morbius calm mind, the heart-sound fish was useless to him. However, one couldn't deny the rarity and preciousness of the heart-sound fish. When Gao Feng saw that Lin Yuan was looking at him, he laughed heartily. "My father mailed these to me through ostrich logistics from Wind Mist City. I'm in such a rush because I'm waiting for these 8 heart-sound fish. Each of us will eat one of these 8 heart-sound fish. When I go to the abyss in the future, even if I'm attacked by charm demons, I won't be immediately controlled by them." From Gao Feng's words, Lin Yuan could feel Gao Feng's frankness and sincerity. Because the heart-sound fish was beneficial to everyone, Gao Feng packed it up and brought it over. Gao Feng had taken the 8-tailed heart-sound fish because he wanted to befriend Gu Lang and Zhou Xian. Now that Gao Feng was already Her Majesty's disciple, there was no need for him to please anyone. This meant that everything Gao Feng did was sincere. Upon seeing the smile on Gao Feng's face, Lin Yuan also smiled and said, "We're not late. We're not late. There's still 10 minutes until the appointed time. 10 minutes is enough for us to rush over." When they arrived at Copper Crane Alley's 18th courtyard, Lin Yuan realized that it was not the largest courtyard in Copper Crane Alley. The decorations inside were not as exquisite as the other courtyards. Tangzhou and grapes did not take care of the gourds planted in front of the courtyard very carefully. Some of the old leaves had already fallen to the ground because they had dried up. However, Zhongzai's courtyard's decorations revealed a warm and leisurely feeling. It was this leisurely feeling that made people not feel the slightest bit restrained when they came to Zhongzai's courtyard. There was a long gold-threaded jade table in front of the main residence. Gu Lang, Long Tao, Li Xian and Sun Ningxiang were sitting at the gold-threaded jade table. Upon seeing Lin Yuan and Gao Feng walk in, Gu Lang hurriedly went forward to help Zhongzai entertain Gao Feng and Lin Yuan. As the courtyard's owner, Zhongzai was also today's chef. He was cooking the Kitchen Fragrance Palace's 300 dishes non-stop in the kitchen and did not have time to come to the courtyard to entertain the guests. Chapter 1097. Gu Lang and Zhongzai grew up together, so he naturally took on the responsibility of receiving guests. Previously, when Gu Lang came to Zhongzai's place, he already understood that even if he couldn't bear to part with the golden silk emperor bamboo, he still wouldn't give up. The golden silk emperor bamboo was no longer its possession, but Lin Yuan's. As Lin Yuan's friend, he should not covet what already belonged to Lin Yuan. However, no matter how much Gu Lang understood, when he saw Lin Yuan's reluctance to part with the golden silk emperor bamboo, his heart was immediately evoked again. Gu Lang suppressed the reluctance in his heart and came in front of Lin Yuan and Gao Feng. Come, drink 2 cups of the bamboo wine I brought. This bamboo leaf wine is brewed using over 70 types of bamboo phase. There isn't any complicated craftsmanship, and all that's left is the bamboo branch's original flavor. Because this bamboo wine has only been brewed for a few months, it doesn't have much alcohol content. You won't get drunk no matter how much you drink. Gu Lang was smiling enthusiastically, but Lin Yuan could still see something strange from Gu Lang's expression. Lin Yuan thought to himself, Gu Lang's heart should be suffering right now. Since Lin Yuan had decided to return the golden silk emperor bamboo to its original owner, Gu Lang could continue walking the path of the bamboo monarch. Therefore, Lin Yuan did not need to use the golden silk emperor bamboo to bait Gu Lang. Lin Yuan did not want to use the golden silk emperor bamboo to obtain anything from Gu Lang. Since they had become friends, Lin Yuan generously took out the jade box containing the golden silk emperor bamboo and handed it to Gu Lang. Yes. Return it to its rightful owner. When Gu Lang saw the jade box in Lin Yuan's hand, he was startled and reluctance immediately filled his face. When he heard what Lin Yuan said, Gu Lang suddenly felt a lump in his throat and a lump in his throat. A myriad of feelings welled up in his heart. No matter how much he thought about it, Gu Lang never imagined that the uncontracted gold thread emperor bamboo would return to him. If Gu Lang had obtained such a treasure and Gu Lang looked at him, would he really return it? Moreover, the word return itself was inappropriate. After all, this item belonged to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan said that it was returning the item to its owner, but it was just a way to make it easier for him to accept it. It could be said that Lin Yuan was still considering his own feelings. Gu Lang took a deep look at Lin Yuan as though he wanted to remember everything that Lin Yuan had done for him. Gu Lang had always been an introverted and reserved person. At that moment he couldn't help but reach out and pat Lin Yuan's shoulder. Words cannot express my gratitude, my good brother. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan smiled brightly, revealing his white teeth. If I don't give you the golden silk emperor bamboo, not only will you not be able to eat well, even I won't be able to eat well. After saying that, Lin Yuan patted Gu Lang's shoulder and walked to the nephrite jade table, preparing to drink a cup of the bamboo wine that Gu Lang had brought. Just as he picked up the glass and poured the wine, he saw Lu Jia walk out of the kitchen with a tray. Upon seeing Lin Yuan, Lu Jia hurriedly put the plate in his hand on the Hutian jade table and said, "Thank you." Lin Yuan Zhongzai's cooking standards are not bad. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan raised his eyebrows. Lin Yuan remembered that Lu Jia kept saying that he wanted to compete with Zhongzai in cooking. Hearing Lu Jia's words, Zhongzai's cooking level should be higher than Lu Jia's. He saw that each plate on the tray was filled with exquisite dishes. The plates were very small and each person could probably finish the dishes on the plate with one chopstick. Lin Yuan had seen a few of the dishes in the Spirit Food Pavilion, but he hadn't ordered them at that time. It seemed that he would be lucky to taste them all today. After greeting Lin Yuan, Lu Jie returned to the kitchen again. Just as Lu Jie returned to the kitchen, Zhongzhe walked out of the kitchen with a tray. Lu Jie and Zhongzhe went back and forth a few times before placing a total of 300 plates on the nephrite jade table. At that moment, a gust of wind blew past, and the wind rolled up Lin Yuan's clothes and blew toward Zhongzhe, who was about to speak to everyone. Zhongzhe immediately smelled that smell that intoxicated his entire soul. This smell could be said to be haunting Zhongzhe during this period. Smelling it again made Zhongzhe's nose sniff quickly and secretly like a puppy's. When they sat down to eat, Zhongzhe, who should have been sitting in the main seat, sat next to Lin Yuan and occupied Lu Jie's seat. Zhongzhe's actions made Lu Jie confused. Finally, when he saw that Zhongzhe had no intention of getting up, Lu Jie scratched his head and helplessly sat down on the main seat. During the meal, Lin Yuan found that Zhongzhe secretly glanced at him from time to time. This discovery made Lin Yuan raise his brows again and again. Lin Yuan subconsciously reached out to touch the corners of his mouth several times, thinking that something was stuck to the corners of his mouth. After drinking a few cups of bamboo wine, everyone discussed about the development and construction of the faction. Those issues that could not be discussed in the group video chat were easily resolved in everyone's offline meal. After all, everyone had previously studied the division of labor and shares. Now they were just clarifying the responsibilities that everyone needed to perform in the faction's development. At that moment, Long Tao suddenly thought of something and asked Lin Yuan, when will your high-class creation master resources arrive? When we first start to explore the abyss, I think fire element spiritual ingredients should be very easy to obtain. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan immediately knew that Long Tao was afraid of obtaining fire element spiritual ingredients in the early exploration of the abyss. Upon hearing Long Tao's words, Lin Yuan immediately knew that Long Tao was afraid of the fire element spiritual ingredients he had obtained in the early exploration of the abyss. There was no way to accelerate the ripening of the fire tribute spirit materials, causing their medicinal efficacy to decrease. There was still some time before the Class 6 Abyss Dimensional Rift was officially revealed. During this period of time, Lin Yuan's 100 Questions Beast Legion of 50 Pinnacle Class 3 Creation Masters would definitely be nurtured. After Genius possessed 8 interconnected tails, it wouldn't be a problem to nurture another 100 Questions Beasts. Therefore Lin Yuan said, "That's right. Before entering the Abyss world, I can prepare the first month's high-class creation master resources in advance. However, I will need you to give me a list of the high-class creation master resources that I need. I will then provide the potions Heavenly Maiden Grade Elemental Pearls, Bronze/Epic Phase, and other high-class creation master resources according to the list." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Long Tao was once again secretly surprised by the number of high-class creation master resources that Lin Yuan had. On one hand, he was completely relieved. During the meal, Zhongzhe's gaze towards Gulang gradually became doubtful. Previously, Gulang did not understand why Zhongzhe and Lin Yuan had become so close. Now Zhongzhe did not understand why Gulang and Lin Yuan had suddenly become so close. During the meal, everyone had completely finalized the cooperation and said that the manpower would soon be ready. Chapter 1098. Only Lu Jie was the most relaxed as Lin Yuan had already taken all of the portions that he had provided. Halfway through the meal, Zhongzhe took the 8-heart sound fish that Gao Feng had brought and entered the kitchen. He was going to make an after-meal dessert, the honey lotus root fish stew cake for everyone. Lin Yuan, Lu Jie, Gao Feng, Long Tao, Li Xian, and Sun Ningxiang all opened their stomachs and ate Zhongzhe's secret 300 plates without restraint. Even Lu Jie, who was very picky about food, could not find any fault with the 300 plates. Although Lu Jie admitted that Zhongzhe's cooking skills were good, it did not mean that he admitted defeat. Lu Jie felt that if he had to compare, the food he cooked also had a taste that Zhongzhe could not make. And it was equally delicious. When Zhongzhe came out with the 8 bowls of honey lotus root fish stew cake, Lu Jie's cell phone rang. After Lu Jie picked up the phone, his face darkened and he looked at Lin Yuan and said softly, "Lin Yuan, there's a move over there." Upon hearing Lu Jie's words, Lin Yuan's eyes narrowed. The Zheng family launched the Blood Oath Extreme Duel against Sky City really quickly. The Zheng family head should have just arrived at the royal capital from Indigo Azure City last night. Lin Yuan shook his head at Lu Jie, indicating that he should not talk about this matter now. Lin Yuan shook his head at Lu Jie, indicating that he should not talk about it now. Upon seeing Lin Yuan shake his head at him, Lu Jie forced himself not to tell Lin Yuan what he had heard. Upon seeing Lin Yuan shake his head at him, Lu Jie held back and did not tell Lin Yuan what he had heard. Zhongzhe and Gu Lang saw the change in Lu Jie's expression. However, seeing that Lu Jie had no intention of saying, Zhongzhe and Gu Lang did not ask any more. Lu Jie's ringing phone was like a small interlude at the dining table. After everyone had eaten their fill, the 300 plates, including the honey lotus root fish stew cake that Zhongzhe had just made, were all finished. It could be said that Lin Yuan, Gu Lang, Long Tao and the others had thoroughly carried out a mission. Before leaving, everyone handed the gifts that they had prepared in advance to Zhongzhe. After saying goodbye, Lin Yuan summoned Blackie and pulled Lu Jie to ride on its back toward the return from faraway mansion. Zhongzhe did not want to see the gifts that everyone had given him immediately. Instead, he summoned the burning sky centipede and prepared to feed it. However, after being summoned, the burning heaven centipede immediately picked up the brocade pouch that Lin Yuan had given Zhongzhe. If it was any other day, Zhongzhe would have let the burning sky centipede play with the things that it was so interested in. However, since this item was sent by Lin Yuan, Zhongzhe did not let the burning heaven centipede have its way. Instead, he ordered the burning sky roar to bring the brocade box over. After pouring out the contents of the brocade pouch, Zhongzhe's body immediately trembled. Zhongzhe had never expected that Lin Yuan would give him a heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearl that contained the goddess Gossamer. Even his master, Chef Supreme, would not be able to cultivate this elemental pearl. The sky-burning centipede had the ability to simulate the purity of fire elemental energy that it had come into contact with to purify the fire elemental energy within its body. It was important to note that the elemental pearls that contained the goddess Graupel contained almost 100% pure fire element. With this heavenly maiden-level elemental pearl, the purity of the fire element in the sky-burning hose body would increase from 96% to 100%. At that time, Zhongzhe's main fei, the burning sky centipede, would have a qualitative leap. The burning sky centipede could even rely on the exceptional Fire 8 refinement to directly absorb top-notch exceptional flames. Lin Yuan, who was on Little Black's back, did not know the significance of this heavenly maiden-level elemental pearl to Zhongzhe. If he had known, he would have been happy for Zhongzhe. As for whether the heavenly maiden-level elemental pearl would attract Chef Supreme's attention in Zhongzhe's hands, Lin Yuan might have been worried in the past. But now there was no need for him to worry at all. His master, the Moon Empress, now had the pure spirit chi that he had given her through the spirit roast peony. In the future, the pure spirit chi in the spirit roast peony would also become a powerful external resource in her hands. This elemental pearl that contained the goddess Graupel could be used as an advertisement in advance for his master in front of Chef Supreme. Just as Zhongzhe placed the heavenly maiden-level elemental pearl into the bell and placed it on the burning sky centipede's neck, Lu Jie, who was sitting on Little Black's back, said to Lin Yuan in a deep voice. Lu Jie, who was sitting on Little Black's back, spoke to Lin Yuan in a deep voice. Lin Yuan, according to the news from the spirit guards, there is an Emperor-class expert among the Zheng family's experts reporting for the Blood Oath Extreme Battle. According to the investigation, this Emperor-class expert is the right-hand man of the Miao family's family head, Miao Zhenshan, since he was young. His name is Han Tianhe. Han Tianhe's main fei is at least at the 4 calamities of creation level. Lin Yuan's expression did not change when he heard Lu Jie's words, but his heart was not calm. Lin Yuan did not expect the Miao family to provide an Emperor-class expert for the Blood Oath Extreme Battle at this time. In the past, this news would certainly have thrown Lin Yuan into confusion. But now he had a Void Shadow Devil that was equivalent to a level 10-8 Tribulations creation god. As long as the Zheng family didn't ask for the help of an Undying's power, he wouldn't be able to escape. As long as the Zheng family did not ask for immortal power, Lin Yuan did not need to worry at all. At that moment, Lu Jie continued to speak. Lin Yuan, Why don't I visit the Miao family on the day of the Blood Oath Extreme battle between the Jing family and Sky City as the young palatial lord of Yeong Palace? At that time the Miao family's experts will all be there to receive me. This way, even if Han Tianhe reported to the spirit guards in advance, he will still have to stay in the Miao family. As he spoke, Lu Jie's brows furrowed even tighter. This situation was not necessarily absolute. If the Miao family did not let Han Tianhe stay in the family and continued to let him help the Jing family in the Blood Oath Extreme battle, it would not be good. Lin Yuan shook his head when he heard Lu Jie's words. Don't worry, big brother Lu. Now I hope the Miao family can send a few more Emperor-class experts to help the Jing family in the Blood Oath Extreme battle. Upon seeing Lu Jie's puzzled expression, Lin Yuan lowered his head to look at his shadow. Void Shadow Fiend, this Blood Oath Extreme battle depends on you. As soon as Lin Yuan's voice fell, a strange hoarse voice came from the shadow. As you wish, master. At the same time the Void Shadow Fiend released its aura. Feeling the aura of the Void Shadow Fiend, Lu Jie knew that he had worried too much. At the thought of Han Tianhe, whose main fei was a level 5-4 Calamities of Creation monarch, Lin Yuan could not help but look forward to it. After Princess Luo Kun absorbed the world crystal in Han Tianhe's creation breed main battle spirit, would it bring him a new sword technique? After Lu Jie and Lin Yuan returned to the mansion, Lin Yuan immediately let Wen Yu represent Sky City to accept the Jing family's Blood Oath Extreme battle. Chapter 1099. The veteran faction, the Jing family, had launched the Blood Oath Extreme duel against Sky City. In the eyes of outsiders, this veteran faction did not take Sky City seriously at all. At this time, Sky City must give a strong response to the Blood Oath Extreme duel. It showed that Sky City was not afraid of the veteran faction, the Jing family. This was the first time other factions had found trouble with Sky City in front of everyone, and it was also the best time for Sky City to show its claws and teeth. Sky City could only use a strong attitude to fight back against the Jing family and show enough martial strength during the Blood Oath Extreme duel. Only then could they deter those jackals, wolves, tigers and leopards who had already or were about to have designs on Sky City. Otherwise, the Du Immortal Garden's outcome was an example. Being a top faction was enough to show the Du Immortal Garden's strength, but it had repeatedly shown weakness under the Miao family's coercion. This caused some veteran factions to have special thoughts about the Du Immortal Garden. Sky City had always shown its creation master resources to the outside world, but a faction that only showed high-class creation master resources without the support of martial strength was not enough to gain a firm foothold. It was just right to use this opportunity to let Sky City gain a firm foothold. In addition, Lin Yuan had immediately let Wen Yu represent Sky City to accept the Blood Oath Extreme duel to provoke Jing Kaiyuan. It made Jing Kaiyuan worry about Sky City's quick response to the Blood Oath Extreme duel, so he went to seek help from the Miao family. He asked for more experts from the Miao family. The Miao family's Emperor-class experts were like shining world source crystals to him. It was also the easiest way for him to obtain world origin crystals, and he wanted to get a little more at one time. After Wen Yu went to the spirit guards to represent Sky City to accept the Jing family's Blood Oath Extreme duel, the news quickly spread. It could be said that the Blood Oath Extreme duel between the Jing family and Sky City was the first time the royal capital's Extreme Arena opened in the new year. In fact, the Extreme Arena only opened a few times a year. At this time, after 100 years of development, the major factions understood each other and knew each other's strength. Therefore, under the initiative of the weak side to protect themselves, even if there was a conflict of interest between the two factions, the enmity would not go to the Extreme Arena. This was also the main reason why the three veteran factions of Indigo Azure City had been fighting for decades and had endless blood debts with each other, but it had never escalated to the point of a blood oath battle. Under normal circumstances, the Extreme Battle Arena would mostly receive those who had just gained some fame and were eager to expand. Only these new powers that were eager to expand would risk their foundations. The S tournament had reached the final stage and it was the most lively time in the Radiance Federation. However, a blood oath ultimate battle between a power that wasn't part of the capital and a power that hadn't been ranked yet was definitely big news. It was rare to see a veteran blood oath extreme battle, especially a veteran force like the Jing family that had been developing for decades and had a strong backing. If it were just the Zheng family, it wouldn't have been enough to divert so much attention from the tournament. More importantly, this matter also involved Sky Castle. Over the past few months, Sky City had been quiet, and Lin Yuan had not bothered much with the Star Web faction territory. When you only maintain the operation of Sky City's Star Web private territory according to the foundation laid by Lin Yuan. The cooperation between Sky City, the Blissful Sea Clan, the Du Immortal Garden, and even the major city guards was also carried out in secret without making it public. Even if Sky City's core members didn't do anything, it wouldn't be enough to affect Sky City's ranking in the top 10 faction popularity list for several months. From the moment Sky City's private territory appeared, it had become a topic of discussion. At first, Sky City's image was shabby and poor, but it was later reversed under Lin Yuan's arrangements. After the reversal, Sky City transformed into the faction's interior with hundreds of bronze/epic fays. The bronze/legend Oath Lily of the Valley was placed on the table. This reversal laid the foundation of Sky City's popularity. Subsequently, Sky City would constantly customize a bronze/epic fay according to the willpower rune every day, which also continued the initial popularity of Sky City. In fact, those customers who were lucky enough to customize bronze/epic fays had been contributing to Sky City's popularity. Lin Yuan had always been serious about the enhancement of fays, so whenever he could purify the fay's bloodline as long as it wasn't troublesome, he would do it a little. He would also choose from 3 exclusive skills when the fay was promoted to bronze. This made nearly 90% of the customers very satisfied with Sky City's service. They spontaneously became Sky City's fanatical fans and promoted Sky City everywhere on Star Web. At the same time, they showed off the fays they had customized in Sky City, giving themselves the double label of being rich and lucky. This made more people join the ranks of the queue to snatch fate letters, making it hard to find one of the 100 fate letters that were distributed every day. Some vendors even hyped up those fate letters that didn't hit the jackpot. A fate letter that didn't hit the jackpot only cost 10,000 radiance dollars to Lin Yuan, and it could easily be sold for a high price of nearly 50,000 radiance dollars. People would also crazily buy them, making fate letters a financial product that changed hands extremely quickly. In addition, Sky City usually wouldn't take back the fate letters that didn't hit the jackpot, so they had the conditions to circulate in the market. Could be said that snatching fate letters from Sky City was a way to make a fortune. Now Star Web had basically fallen into the craze of everyone snatching fate letters. A large number of people who flocked to Sky City to snatch fate letters firmly pushed Sky City to the first place on the Star Web visitor list, with 3 times the number of visitors higher than the second place. Sky City's popularity from all aspects was constantly fermenting, making Sky City a popular topic on Star Web. Discussions about Sky City could be seen everywhere on Tieba groups. Moreover, Sky City was very down-to-earth and didn't have as many rules as other Star Web private faction territories. Even if many people knew that they couldn't snatch fate letters, they still wanted to go to Sky City's Star Web faction territory to see the scenery. Now that the veteran faction, the Zheng family, was going to have a blood oath duel with Sky City, God knew how many people were worried about Sky City. On the one hand, these people had developed feelings for Sky City for a long time. On the other hand, if Sky City was destroyed by the Zheng family would take over all of Sky City's resources. Given these veteran factions' morals, how could they still sell bronze/epic phase customized according to the willpower rune? By then there would naturally be no fate letters. End of this chapter. Chapter 1100. This was equivalent to cutting off the source of income for the people who were always fighting for fate letters in Sky City. All of a sudden, threads scolding the Zheng family and threads concerned about the future of Sky City appeared all over the Star Web. Lin Yuan Lujia, and when you knew nothing about all this. This was because after when you represented Sky City in accepting the Blood Oath Extreme Duel from the Zheng family and returned to the manor, a meeting regarding the Zheng family's Blood Oath Extreme Duel was held. The meeting was very simple. Lin Yuan assigned Endless Summer and Zhou Luo to participate in the Blood Oath Extreme Duel. At the same time, he allowed the Void Shadow Demon to hide in Zhou Luo's shadow during the Blood Oath Extreme battle. Lin Yuan had originally planned to let the Slaughter Sky Butterfly participate in the Blood Oath Extreme Duel, But he gave up on this plan when he thought that danger might appear in the swamp world at any time. In fact, Lin Yuan had not intended to assign Zhou Luo to the stage. He had only asked if anyone wanted to go on stage as a formality. Unexpectedly, Zhou Luo took the initiative to suggest that he wanted to go on stage for some excitement. Lin Yuan couldn't help but feel a little strange. Does Zhou Luo like excitement so much? Lin Yuan agreed to Zhou Luo's request. After Lin Yuan was done, everything returned to normal. All they had to do was wait for the Blood Oath Extreme Battle with the Jing family at the Extreme Battle Arena the day after tomorrow. Before the meeting ended, Lin Yuan looked at Lu Jia and spoke. Brother Lu, you don't have to go to the Miao family, but I want you to put some pressure on the Miao family. It's best if this pressure can make the Miao family nervous. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Lu Jia pondered for a moment and understood what he meant. Although Lu Jia was not good at managing his forces, he was definitely not stupid. Presumably, when Lin Yuan had asked Zheng Kaiyuan to join the small circle at the Nix assembly and given him his contact information, he had already started to set up the Zheng family's game of chess. By exerting pressure on the Miao family, it proved that there was no possibility of reconciliation between him and the Miao family. The Miao family, which had fallen into a nervous state, would naturally subconsciously hold on to Lin Yuan's side. If the Miao family wanted to rope in Lin Yuan, they needed Zheng Kaiyuan as a bridge. This was tantamount to giving Zheng Kaiyuan greater influence and voice in the Miao family. The fact that Sky City had accepted the Zheng family's blood oath duel so readily was bound to provoke Zheng Kaiyuan. After he exerted pressure on the Miao family, Zheng Kaiyuan might even be able to ask the Miao family for help. Just the loss of a single emperor-level combatant was enough to make the Miao family suffer greatly. If they lost 2 emperor-level combatants, the Miao clan would have to lay low for at least 20 years before they could stand up again. Lin Yuan, leave it to me. I'll handle this matter immediately. Upon hearing Lu Jia's words, Lin Yuan nodded. Then I'll have to trouble Brother Lu. Not long after Lu Jia left, Lin Yuan was about to call Listen and ask him to send Qin Luan and Qin Yu over. Lin Yuan received a call from Brahma Scissorwing. Upon seeing the caller ID, Lin Yuan raised his brows. Previously, he had exchanged contact information with Fan Hanxing and agreed that Fan Hanxing would represent the Brahma insect cage in handling the Golden Lotus brocade transaction and the Warm Sun Funds matters. Logically speaking, it should be Fan Hanxing calling him. However, the one calling him was Fan Jianyi, which meant that Fan Hanxing, as a junior, was not in a position to discuss this matter. The only thing that Fan Hanxing could not talk about was the Brahma spirit cage's main fei, the extreme Nightjade Sky Scorpion. Lin Yuan picked up the phone and thought to himself that he had indeed guessed correctly. Lin Yuan heard Brahma's voice on the other end of the line. Lord Lin Yuan, can I bring Bai Yi to visit you? Bai Yi would like to talk to you face to face. He would also like to see the 2 youths with the extreme Nightjade Sky Scorpion beast too. In addition, we have already prepared all the supplies for you. This time we will bring them to you together. Hearing Fan Jianyi's words, Lin Yuan gladly agreed. The extreme Nightjade Scorpion was one of the few scorpion species phase that would raise their offspring to adulthood and live together as a family. This meant that the extreme Nightjade Scorpion, regardless of whether it was a female scorpion or a male scorpion, would always love their young. This kind of love came from the bloodline and it grew stronger with the passage of time. The extreme Nightjade Sky Scorpion's feelings for its offspring were similar to the feelings humans had for their offspring. Even if it was a fortuitous encounter, the extreme Nightjade Scorpion's parents would still place great importance on this matter. Although Qin Luan and Qin Yu did not have much ability now, the 2 of them did indeed possess the extreme Nightjade Sky Scorpion beast mark. Thus he wasn't afraid that Bai Yi would look at him. After hanging up the call with Fan Ling, Lin Yuan immediately called Listen. He asked Listen to send Qin Luan and Qin Yu over. After all, Qin Yu had not officially awakened the extreme Nightjade Sky Scorpion beast mark. In a short while, Listen personally brought Qin Luan and Qin Yu in front of Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan found that Qin Luan had become much stronger than before. Although he was still the same as before, the gloominess in his eyes had completely disappeared. However, Qin Yu had very heavy dark circles under his eyes. Listen should have already started to find someone to tutor Qin Yu's homework. When Qin Yu saw Lin Yuan, he immediately pounced over with eyes full of joy and said, Big brother, thank you for helping my brother recover. Big brother, thank you for helping my brother recover. Qin Yu spoke sincerely and his face was full of gratitude as he spoke. Previously, Qin Yu had run out to buy medicine for Qin Luan and found that his brother's body had recovered to normal when he returned. This discovery filled Qin Yu's heart with joy. Although Qin Yu was young, the hardships of life had washed away Qin Yu's knowledge at a very young age. In the past, when Qin Yu saw his brother's body getting worse and worse, he was always afraid that his brother would be gone one day. Therefore Qin Yu cherished every day with Qin Luan. Qin Luan's body suddenly improved, letting Qin Yu know that he could still rely on his brother in the future. He wouldn't be alone. Qin Yu had always had an obsession, and that was to thank Lin Yuan in person. Even if he could not do anything now, he still had to express his feelings. Lin Yuan reached out to rub Qin Luan's soft hair and looked at Qin Luan, who was wearing a small cotton-padded jacket like a porcelain doll. Lin Yuan squatted down and took out a few candies made of cinnabar sweet osmanthus nectar from the amber button-shaped diamond face storage box and handed them to Qin Yu. At that moment Lin Yuan heard Listen speak. Young master, during this period of time, I brought Qin Luan to familiarize himself with the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce and brought him into contact with many people. However, I don't know why Qin Yu is very afraid of light, so I didn't let him go out. Instead, I found a few teachers to tutor him. Qin Yu is very smart and eager to learn. His learning progress is very fast. If he goes to the Royal Capital's Intermediate Spirit Qi Academy's second-year examination this year, there should be hope. There is no need to wait until next year. Lin Yuan was a little surprised at Qin Yu's intelligence and eagerness to learn. Generally, it was very difficult for children who had not been exposed to systematic learning from a young age to immerse themselves in learning. End of this chapter. That you're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.